should be streaming. Ace, check on that. And when you have a second, drop a comment in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're live. Live. Okay. And also while we're doing that, let me hear your audio, Ghost.
Test.
I got you. Yeah, I guess I was saying before, you could be a little louder. Whether that's location proximity thing, or whether you can increase your volume somehow. And let me hear you, Ace.
Check. How do I sound?
Yeah, you
Check.
sound on point as well. Obviously, when we start, just make sure you're super enthusiastic. And how do I sound on my end? Sound all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Let me post this, and then we're jumping right into it. What'd you do? Okay. Nice. I like the little starting. Did anyone notice? That's us while we're doing this podcast.
That's hilarious. It's freaking hilarious.
All right. Enough of the chit chat. Let's get to it. Although I technically all we're doing chit chatting. Anyway, start recording. 3, 2, 1. Okay. We are live. We are recording. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, everyone, to the B1 and B-Phil podcast. We are back. We're back. And we got, not everyone here, but we got the guys, the family, the bros. We got Ace.
So,
We got Ghost.
Yo.
And we got myself, Quest Lando. And obviously, as always, Salute to West. Guys, how are we doing? How are we feeling?
doing good.
Could be worse.
I keep telling you, that's finna be your tagline. Which is not a bad one by any means. And I myself am doing pretty well as well. At time recording, it is like fresh into fall, so everyone's, in that mood, in that pumpkin mode. But either way, I'm glad you guys are here. I guess before we get right into things, does anyone have any content recommendations, any content that they consumed recently that they want to come on here and share that was dope or interesting?
Yep, I got a couple.
Let's hear it.
So my first one is it's kind of weird. It's a concert, so I can't really recommend it per se.
Maybe
But
you're recommending the band probably more. Say they're performing
yeah, I'll
live.
recommend
If you want to
the
catch them in your city respectively.
yeah. Yeah. So the band is named Holy Fawn. I've been listening to them for probably like 5 years now. They are a black metal slash shoegaze band. More shoegaze than black metal. But yeah, I've been listening to them for a while, but kind of off and on. Because just in general, like I don't necessarily listen to heavy music that much in my day to day. Um, but yeah, like going to see them live just like reminded me why I used to like heavy music so much. Just hearing the music live, loud, right in front of me, like I was right in front of the stage. The bass was heavy, laid down like a just a heavy atmosphere that was constant. The guitars were like loud and noisy, but still very textured. The singer was amazing, drumming was amazing. Like it was just a great experience. The band played I think they played one new song and one re-release from their first album that they recently recorded or re-recorded, and yeah, it was amazing. Like just heavy, like constant. They have like a very I would say cinematic, like epic sound. So just being in front of that, surrounded by that, it was dope. uh, I was kind of I wasn't sure how much I was gonna like it. Um, but yeah, like since then I've just had their music on repeat. Like yeah, it was great.
Nice. One more time for the people. What's the band?
Holy fun.
Got you. Got you. Nice. Sound like a dope. Sound like it was a dope concert experience. And
Yeah, yeah. I
I've
kind of wish
definitely.
kind of wish
Sorry.
Ghost was able to make it out just to see how he would have liked it.
I am curious, how is the atmosphere of the crowd? Because I didn't know that they were black metal slash shoegaze, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious if people were acting crazy or if it was more laid back or what.
No, it was pretty laid back. There was no mosh pit or anything. I was like I said, I was right in front of the stage and nobody was moshing.
Mm.
I wasn't paying attention to what was happening behind me. There was like probably one row of people in front of me. Um, but yeah, it was good. Like there was nothing crazy happening.
As someone that's been to shows with Ace, I can vouch for that. And maybe it's because I'm the exact opposite, but you be in shows, you'd be glued to the performance.
Yep.
While me, I'm like making sure everything is copacetic, checking for the entries and exits, making sure nobody's like acting or acting a fool. But again, that might just be me and my paranoia. Sorry.
Oh.
You said you had some other stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. One more. This is I'm years late, but I gotta recommend One Piece now that
Oh
I've
Oh my
my
started it.
god, are
god.
you kidding me right now? You can't recommend one,
Yep.
dog.
Dude, yeah.
Local man discovers putting bread on toast is good.
The reason, I mean, the main reason I want to and I want to speak about it is because I was definitely somebody who just wrote it off for many reasons. Like just a few of them were that I just based on like the animation and the characters design and everything, I thought it was I thought it was targeted more to like a younger audience. I thought it looked like too goofy for my taste. Um, and also the fact that it has like over 1,000 episodes out now. I just figured like as far as the story is concerned that the author was just like writing and adding on to it just to add on to it and just to keep the thing going without any real purpose. But I'm 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 like 150 chapters into the manga now, and I am certain that like none of the things that I assumed are true. Like it's while a younger audience would definitely appreciate it. I know I would have liked it when I was younger. It definitely has like more mature themes. It is violent. It can be violent. And the story is it's I wouldn't necessarily like say complex, but it's definitely like well thought out. There's characters that you wouldn't think are important that will come back and you know um, become pivotal to the story. Um, the art direction, like I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I've definitely gotten used to it, and I can also see
It gets
how.
better.
Would you say?
It gets better.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, even like with the wacky character design, I can see how like having such unique characters get it. It makes it easier to like distinguish them, but it's not like that design takes away from the like some of the groundedness and again like the themes that the uh that the story touches or the story can touch on and like the backgrounds that the characters can have. They're still extremely well fleshed out. um and yeah, like it just keeps on, the story just keeps on building on top of itself. There's just certain things that the author will reveal, and you'll be like, what does that mean? And then they'll come back like, and I'm barely into the series and I can already see like how all these things are starting to come together. So I'm hyped to keep going. I would highly recommend giving it a try. If you if you think the animation, it is a like it's a old anime. It started in the 90s, which I'm sure many people know by now. But I am finding that the doing the manga is allowing me to get through it at a relatively quick pace, and I think I kind of prefer the manga, like just seeing the visuals in the manga versus the animation in the show. So I probably won't. Maybe I won't start watching to this show until like, you know, I don't know, bigger fights or something like that when it really starts to get good in terms of that. But yeah, I highly recommend it.
So
Fair enough.
you,
Oh, go ahead.
so I was just gonna ask, so you watching the manga and sorry,
Reading.
reading the manga, watching the anime at the same time?
No, I've watched some of the fights in the anime, but other than that, it's just mainly been reading the manga.
Hmm.
And I was gonna say, like, for you, if you did want to maybe dabble in it, like, if you consider the manga is, I think the manga is just about, well, maybe it's like 1,000 something chapters right now, but in terms of length, like, it's probably not longer than reading some of Sanderson's stuff, like The Way of Kings, for example. It probably is similar to going through that, and I don't know, maybe a little bit more, but I don't think it's.
Seriously?
Yeah, I
All of
don't.
the manga?
Yeah, I mean,
Are
'cause
you talking about one book of Sanderson's or a whole
yeah,
series?
one book, one book. I don't
What?
think. I think I could finish the manga maybe in a little more than a month, and that's what it took me to read The Way of Kings. So
Oh shit!
yeah, it's doable. I mean, it's a comic. Like it's not that many words. You'll stay on it for a little while
Animes are
when the drawing is
long.
good,
Mangas
but
are long, bro.
By the
no,
way,
I
by the
still
way,
haven't made my way through My Hero yet.
this is not a anime, manga, comic podcast. I know y'all in your bag right now, but
I never thought in a million years you get recommend.
yep, it's that good, man. It's been around. I'm seeing now that it's been around for a while, and it's like heavily lauded for reasons.
yeah, let's be clear. Like I was chopping up with you before, like there's a reason why. I mean, not sorry, not a reason, but I enjoy hearing the perspective of somebody that's getting into it, like at this point in time, and just seeing them, like I said, get into it and enjoy it after it's been such a long-standing series. But let's be clear, there's a reason why
Right.
it's like one, if it's not the highest selling, like anime manga franchise in the world.
Yep.
But it's all good. Just don't get too heavily involved in the One Piece community and start throwing your weird theories and power scaling and all that nonsense around. um, you have anything else, sis?
Nope, that was it for me.
Got you. The one quick thing I have is a movie recommendation. The Burial. If you haven't, I actually might have mentioned I look forward to watching this movie. I believe it's on Amazon Prime exclusively, starring Jamie Foxx. Um, I do have to give the caveat. I have not completely finished it, but it's like banger from start to wherever I've gotten. So at least it has a trash ending. I would highly recommend this movie. You know me, I'd rarely watch movies, But I thoroughly enjoyed it so thus far, and I know I'm good for continue to enjoy the rest of it.
Did you watch it with somebody else?
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
watch. I
yeah,
don't
I was
watch
about
con.
to say, yeah,
You
yeah.
think I'm gonna pull up a movie by myself? You just eat what? Just eat popcorn? Hey, Quest, did you like that part? Yeah, that part was pretty fire. What are we gonna do next? Sorry, I don't mean to make fun of people that do watch content alone. But anyway, is there anything else that we want to mention content wise?
I'm good.
If there is nothing else, before we get into the topics, just the standard podcast info, stuff. So if you don't know, now you know. Follow our quote unquote socials. They're in the description below, or they should be. I hope I did that right. Especially myself, Quest Lando. You can find me at Instagram and Twitter/X. And if you don't know, we do a song selection of the week at the end of our podcast, where we bring a bunch of songs that we heard throughout the week that we thoroughly enjoy, that we would want to come in here and recommend to each other and for everyone to listen to. So at the end of the podcast, or we'll drop that. We'll drop the list of all those songs in the description below, as well as the playlist. I might start thinking about, because we can technically create the playlist before the podcast, right, Ace? I might start thinking of I might start thinking about putting that in there even before, just so people can readily have that as they're watching or listening to us. And also, if you enjoy the content, feel free to think about subbing and/or liking, and obviously, most importantly, if you have any recommendations for us, things that we can improve on, or topics that you think would be worth us covering, please let us know. And the last thing I have for y'all before we get into the topics, I did a quick poll the other week, a little Twitter poll, and sometimes it's just random stuff. I'm kind of would maybe thinking about turning it into like a question of the week thing, but don't get too invested. So just a quick question. I would love to know what y'all thoughts, even though I think I know what y'all answer would be. I said, and obviously, I believe that a person could have, a mixture of both, but out of the two, what would you rather have? An adventurous life or a peaceful life? I'll start with you, Ace.
Wow. Shoot. I've straddled both. I've thought about this a lot. I think realistically, I would have to go peaceful.
Got you. And what about for you, Ghost? Between the two, what would you prefer or rather have? An adventurous life or a peaceful life?
Do we get to say quantify what type of adventure it is, or just
Yeah. I mean, let's be clear. These things do have some level of relativity to them. So, but I mean, I think when you hear that, you kind of get a general gauge. I guess,
yeah?
I guess if you wanted to give some examples to it, an adventurous life would be more one where you're constantly traveling or continually traveling. There are some aspects of your life that are unknown. Um, you maybe the way you get your income isn't necessarily consistent, like a paycheck from week to week or bi-weekly, weekly. Maybe you get your income in other ways or things like that. And you just in general are or continually trying new things rather than having more of a routine. Just examples, of course.
I would say peaceful. Interesting question.
Got you. Yeah. Again, I just kind of mainly thought about it, and if more things like this come to me, I would kind of like to implement that. And maybe we could even do it like where I ask question and then in the podcast we can come back to it. But because coming up with this answer, if for some of the questions that are more complex, coming on the spot, maybe you got to think about it a bit more. But we'll see. I'll play around with it a bit. And more importantly, I would like to know any and all of the listeners' opinions on that. Again, the question is simply, what would you rather have of the two? I'm not saying that it's impossible to have a mixture of both, but what of the two would you rather have? An adventurous life or a peaceful life? So if you're listening, we would love to hear your input on that as well. But enough of the intro stuff. We're all here for. Let's get into the topics. And let me just shift some stuff around. Let's see. And make sure I have it pulled up. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. First and foremost, let's start off something light, something, this is just news of the year, annual news basically. So, everyone knows the golden standard of dictionaries, Merriam-Webster. Every year they add some new words. This year, Merriam-Webster officially adds new slang to dictionary, including simp, thirst trap, mid, goated, and bussin'. So just give it some more context. They officially added this year. They officially added 690 new words, including slang, to be in the dictionary, including some of the following words. Let's see some additional words that they've included in here. Go as you scroll through. Whoa, I'm not really catching all that, but they added Riz. No, you don't have to go. Just keep going. They added bussin', extremely good, excellent. That's bussin' with no G, by the way. It's just apostrophe.
Jesus.
Go on. Thirst trap, a photograph, such as a selfie or a video. Like I said, it's not only video. Photos. Video shared for the purpose of attracting attention or desire. Beast mode.
They added this?
An extremely aggressive or energetic style or manner, such as an athlete adapts temporarily as to overpower an opponent in a fight or competition. Gestures or satisfaction or approval made by kissing fingertips in one hand and then spreading the fingers in outward motion. Goated, considered to be the greatest of all time. We can relate to that over here. UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, unidentified anomalous phenomenon. So there's two definitions for UAP.
Bro. Oh my gosh. No.
Grammable. Grammable. Suitable to be posted for the Instagram photo sharing service. Yes. It's also called Meta, actually. And last but not least, they have jorts, which this is kind of thing that's been around since the 90s, but fair enough. Shorts made of denim or jean shorts. So again, they do this year to year as the English language evolves. Of course, we gotta have new words. But I'm interested to hear from y'all real quick. What do y'all think about some of the selection of new words that the geniuses over at Webster, Merriam, have decided to include in the dictionary? Do you think that it makes sense to keep adding new words based on, slang and, the new generation and of culture and things of that nature? Or do you think adding some of these words kind of like watered down the English language, so to speak? Like, should bussin' does bussin' have to be in the dictionary? Does grammable have to be in the dictionary? What y'all think? What do you think, Ghost?
I mean, the English language as a whole is not too great in my opinion, but it's kind of beside the point. Like, I'm thinking about it, and is there what even is the point of adding words to the dictionary? Because I mean, outside of spelling bees and stuff, we got Urban Dictionary, and if you don't know, so you just look it up online. I don't know. That's
it's so they can be used in an official manner. You can officially use jorts in a professional email at work.
But you could, so something's not in the dictionary, you can't use it in an email at work?
Well, I'm obviously being a bit facetious.
Well, I'm just trying to think of what even is the point of the dictionary, which is kind of a wild question.
It means it's a credible word.
But what does credible mean? That you can't use it otherwise?
I didn't think that we were gonna get this meta.
I'm just.
I think the whole purpose is just to define the words. Like, if somebody wants to look up the
okay, I guess. Yeah, I mean that is true, but again, we do got Google, but
Yeah, but I mean,
I mean,
if you consider Google as the dictionary, then Google would still need the words to be part of it as well. Like I would look at it more abstractly than just
okay,
Merriam-Webster adding them to the dictionary.
that
But
makes sense.
Merriam-Webster is like the quote unquote
It
gold
probably
standard.
is where Google gets its definitions from, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Yeah. So I guess the actual question. I mean, I I guess I don't have an issue with it. Some of the selections are a little suspect, but I don't. If you do want to use something in a quote unquote official manner, I guess it does help. It's just it's kind of weird. Some of the selections, like pure slang, is just I don't. It's gonna be out of. It's like a fad that won't be used in the next 5 years. So it's just kind of strange, but I get it. I guess I don't have a problem with it.
Got you. Got you. Some slang persists. There's definitely words that we use these days that are like loosely based off like how words
Some
are.
slang persists, but you think we're gonna be using bussin' and grammable in the next 10 years?
No, busting definitely a word that they replace every like 5 months. What about you, Ace? What do you think of these kind of slang words? Think it's okay, or do you think kind of why is that in language?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think adding like a language shouldn't it should be able to grow slash change um with time. You have different technology, different concepts that need words to define them. To develop new words that help with defining those things, I think is it makes sense. Like the language has to be, has to be, um, it has to be a little bit dynamic to allow for stuff like that. But yeah, I think the last point that Ghost brought up is really the like where my thoughts lie on this. With some of the words, it's very unlikely that they're going to last very long, and it seems pointless to just to have definitions for words that either will only define something for a very short amount of time or could even change with time. Um and that seems to be counterproductive. Like, do you have to go and redefine a word if its definition changes in the future? Especially if a slang word, like it seems counterproductive. So I don't know how Merriam-Webster determines which words should be added to the
That's a
dictionary.
good question.
Maybe they do something where they, look at a ton of text from whatever, from Twitter, like tweets or technical documents or whatever, and see what new words are added and what usage is, and use that to determine which could be a good start, but I do feel like there has to be the timeline of the words usage has to be pretty pretty strict too. Like I feel like the word has to have been used for quite some time in order for it to be added to the dictionary. Maybe you want something like 10 years. Just say okay, let's add this. Not I mean, how long have people been saying bussin'? Like it doesn't feel like a very long time. Um, and I was thinking back too. Like I remember years ago, bootylicious got added to the dictionary, and that
Hey
caused a
yo,
whole, not uproar, but like people were talking about it. And how many people are using that word now? Like it seems very pointless to add some of these words. So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
the criteria just needs to be like very tight or
yeah.
tightened.
Or at least if they were a bit what's the word I'm looking for? Transparent in how they go about it. But
True, true. I mean, you could
to
probably
what you
find it.
yeah, that's true. But to me, what you were saying, I mean, for beast mode, Marshawn Lynch been going crazy for
Yeah, that is true.
all
Like
his
he
career.
had his big run in like 2012 or something.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah, I
kind of
think
strange.
beast mode, beast, like to describe that, I think that's been a long time. To be honest, I used to think CJ invented that.
Yo, that's a reference. If you know, you know. Man, 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 I got a list of things I think CJ made. We're gonna talk about that one day. Yeah, and likewise, I think like Mid's been around for a while. Goated, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the moral of the story? Are y'all gonna start being in y'all official emails at work? Hey, during that meeting that we went over the technical document, after reviewing, I think it was Mid. Is that gonna fly?
It
I
really
mean, you still
depends on
have to
who I'm
speak. There's
emailing.
plenty of words in the dictionary that you can't say in a professional setting. So I don't think that'll
Facts.
make any
Yeah.
difference.
True indeed. You know what's weird? I don't know if this was just me, but I can't remember if it was specifically because we had to. But do y'all remember when y'all were kids just going to the dictionary and looking up words? Not like not intentionally, but just you just going flipping through the dictionary finding new words. Does that mean?
I didn't do that. I remember in fourth grade looking up bad words in class and giggling
Jesus.
with the other little kids. But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
that was just.
No, I used to do that. I mean, like the encyclopedia and the dictionary, just mess around and see what was in there.
Yeah.
Y'all are truly built different.
I mean, it was basically the internet back then, though.
Facts. We
No,
are
no,
fake.
read a book then.
We are fake old over
I mean,
here.
encyclopedias
Encyclopedia
I
was a
get,
book,
but
yeah.
the
We're about to
dictionary.
talk
read a
about some
book.
old stuff later on one of these other topics. But
Wait, hold
tomorrow,
on. Quest, you're telling me that you would read the dictionary encyclopedia, but you weren't reading books?
well, let's be clear, and it feels that's kind of like a shot. I used to read a lot of books when I was younger. I used to
Oh,
read like a
gotcha.
lot of books. I used to enjoy reading, and I found a lot of stories interesting. It's just in my adult lifetime. Nobody got time for that. When are they gonna they put like whole phrases in the dictionary? They gotta put that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
All right.
It doesn't
Okay, so GTA Grand Theft Auto. No, not the criminal activity, the game. And familiar with the Grand Theft Auto GTA series since we were young. But if you can believe it, they're only on technically at this present day's time, the fifth edition. But GTA 6 is alleged to come out in this super near future. Rockstar is trying to make it the biggest game ever, and which is literally going to be like virtual reality. You're in the game doing whatever your heart can imagine. But as you know, or may not know, GTA is synonymous with being a very mature game with every adult theme under the sun, violence, drugs, sexual, explicit content. So, in this day and age where people are trying to, do whatever they can to use technology to curb kids getting access to certain things, Rockstar says GTA possibly may be implementing a way to do that. Let's see what they have to say.
look like kids are going to be able to play Grand Theft Auto 6. So the ESRB, the company behind putting a rating on each video game, now plans to use facial recognition for age verification. So essentially what this system would do is it would require parents to upload a selfie to determine if they are of age, allowing them to unlock the game. And apparently this facial recognition software is used to estimate facial age rather than pinpoint exact details. I remember way back in the day having to drag my mom or dad to GameStop with me, hoping that they would just buy me the latest Grand Theft Auto and that the sales clerk wouldn't convince them that this is a bad idea. So since we know GTA 6 is going to be people that aren't 17 years old that are going to be wanting to play this game. So when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, are there going to be fewer kids playing the game? What do you think of this? Let me know in those comments down below.
Nice. I said let them know in the comments. We're going to speak on it now. Anyway, so like gentlemen said, this is something that they're possibly will be trying to implement. Now, I can already understand the criticism that may or may not come from hearing this, but let's discuss. We're not a video game podcast, and honestly, I kind of want to save this for one day when I have that. But that's obviously something we could revisit. Thoughts? What do y'all think of this prevention method? You think it makes sense? Do you think it wouldn't work? Do you think it's too invasive? I'm interested to know what y'all comments and thoughts are on this. We'll start with you, Ace. What do you think?
Oh man, this is funny. I like in general, I like the idea. Um, I like the idea. Like the companies, I feel like companies come under fire for a lot of things, for a lot of different reasons, and to implement, to try to actually implement a way for their their the ESR rating, ESRB rating to be enforced. I think
Yeah.
it makes sense. And like in terms of a privacy thing, I'm not somebody that stresses over that a lot because I feel like if if you as somebody who has decided to just basically accept the technology that we're using, like I have a PS4, I have a laptop, I have a cell phone.
You want to be admitting that first part?
Yo, I was thinking it, to be honest.
That's not funny. I don't care. But yeah, as somebody who has all this technology, like I just have fully become resigned to the fact that it can be used to invade my privacy. And if I'm gonna use the technology, I just have to accept it. Like I know, for example, that our cell phones listen to what we say, and um, advertisements to that cater to some of the things we talk about
Yeah.
are shown to us based off of that. Like it's wild, but I know it's true, and I'm not gonna get rid of my cell phone. I've just accepted it. Same thing. I mean, not same thing with the cameras. I don't know for certain cameras are always on, and seeing what our environments are, what facial expressions are, logging any of that. I
Don't
don't
get too
know if
conspiracy
any of
theory
that's
on this.
happening. Yeah, I don't know, but at the same time, I just have resigned myself to not caring because I'm going to use the technology pretty much regardless. I can't. It's not something that I'm so worried about that it's gonna cause me to stop using technology. So again, like for something like this, they want to use the facial recognition. You have two choices. Like you either accept it or you don't buy. It's a decision that they made that is probably gonna affect their sales, but probably not heavily. Like I think people are gonna get over it and probably find ways around it. I do think there could be backlash, like maybe the technology really isn't quite there yet, and there's going to be adults that try to play the game and they can't play the game.
Dang, if you had a baby face.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be issues with it, which I think it's pretty funny that they're trying to do it at this state. I don't think AI, or maybe it's not even AI, it's just whatever the facial recognition technology is. I highly doubt that it's quite there yet. It'd probably be some issue with black people, like it doesn't recognize black
Oh
people, like 'cause that's
Lord.
always a thing too.
The facial recognition is racist too?
Yep.
Damn it.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, overall, gonna be we're not gonna hear. This isn't the end that we're this story. I don't think.
So quick question. You're saying that, for yourself, you're not so opposed to the usefulness of technologies that you're willing to, go out of your way to like do preventative methods so to make sure you have 100% pure privacy. But as the video said, like the way in which it could work is like, if you're a parent buying your child the game, you pretty much have to set it up. So if you're buying your child a game, are you gonna sit them in front of the facial recognition machine and let it scan your child's face? Is that what you're saying?
I the way I understood it was that you would
You can play it one more
set it-
time just for the listeners at home.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just explain it and then I'll play it again. But I just assume. I mean, not assume. I interpret it as that you would have to set it up for your face, and then if the child tries to play it, it would scan their face and determine if they're you or not. Which, I mean, the kid shouldn't be playing it. So if it scans their face because they tried to get on it, I don't really think I have an
That
issue
actually
with it.
does make a bit of sense. Maybe I'm wrong. So
Yeah, but
It doesn't look like kids are going to be able to play Grand Theft Auto 6. So the ESRB, the company behind putting a rating on each video game, now plans to use facial recognition for age verification. So essentially what this system would do is it would require parents to upload a selfie to determine if they are of age, allowing them to unlock the game. And apparently this facial recognition software is used.
yeah, was that it?
yeah, that was the part. So yeah, it does tend to sound more along like what you were saying. The fact that it starts with the parents' facial recognition, and that would unlock the ability to play the game or not.
That is funny though, because actually it's a selfie. So it probably like prompts you to upload the selfie, and then once you do it, and it makes the determination you can play it.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
means that
Certain
you
social
could,
media and dating websites have that too. So that really isn't really going to stop too many people.
yeah, exactly. Plus the kid's gonna get the selfie, their parent's selfie, and then upload that. So yeah, it's not really gonna work.
We might have cracked the code already. But I guess that being said, real quick, Ghost, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it makes sense? It wouldn't work the way we understand it right now. It could be more complex, or do you think it's too invasive or anything like that?
I mean, the concept I think is good. I've been saying like kids should not be playing GTA, and I'm not even one that's like uptight about that type of stuff. This game of all games is crazy, just crazy. But like y'all were discussing, I think there's a million ways that this is gonna backfire, and yeah, I don't I don't trust the system to work. If it does work, I mean, I don't know. Kudos to them for trying something out of the box, but I just it feels kind of weird. Like there's different ways you can go about it, and honestly, if I mean, it's really not like parents going to video game stores like GameStop and buying games in person anymore. But if a parent before isn't aware that they're buying their kid this type of game, how are they going to be aware now when the kid is just going to say, "Oh, can you upload your selfie for this?" Blah blah blah, and they'll just do it without really paying attention. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I
Yeah,
don't see it's making much of a difference.
I think a parent would raise a question about that.
I mean,
Maybe you're right because I
but
didn't
why
put
would they
myself.
let him buy the game in the first place then?
Well, none of us have kids, but the way I understand it, it's very easy for the kid to be like on like the download screen, and then the parent just comes in and punches in their credit card information and goes about their business. When you're at the game store, your parent is like off somewhere just chilling or talking, and then you hand them the game, and they bring it to the store, and they bring it up to the cash register, and as long as the cash register is not a D head, they're gonna say, oh, yeah, cash it, bring it out, and go about your business. I think adding this level of a facial recognition, my apologies. I think a parent would like raise an eyebrow, like, what do they want me to do?
True. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if I was a kid, I would lie and say, "Oh, it's a new security measure for the credit card," but they might have prompts of, I don't know.
Nah,
I think you might be right.
nah, you're right. I think kids are absolutely smart enough to like, yeah, dude, you don't worry about it. Their parents to hurry up and do it. Like I said, I think my initial thoughts. I think there are a lot of ways for a young kid to get around it. I think you guys brought up some ideas, but yeah, I mean, not too much. I just want to know what y'all general thoughts on this. I'm kind of surprised that you guys are generally against kids playing games like GTA when aren't y'all products of playing games that are way more mature for the time you guys are playing them?
I never played anything on the level of GTA. I mean, again, I don't care about violence generally in video games like games, PS. I don't care about it generally, but GTA is it's another level, bro. Like,
So the kid can play Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, tactical, shoot the guy from across the planet and watch his brains go in the back of his head, but he can't play GTA.
No, it's different. It's different when you can go to strip clubs. You can just shoot random civilians and run them over just for fun. It's different, bro. Like GTA is a whole nother level of that. Again, I'm not one for the argument that video games make kids violent and all that. I've never been, but if there was one video game I would make the argument for, it would be GTA because like it's just I don't know. I don't really have a great way of explaining it, but it's
No, you're good. I'm just messing. And again, it's not a video game podcast. I'm pretty sure one day we can have a more in-depth conversation about that. And obviously, I think a lot of people would agree when it comes to the most like explicit type of game that is created. I think GTA does rank high on that. Although, I mean, even back in the day, they considered like that first Mortal Kombat game like the most heinous thing under the sun. So times do reflect what we consider, too mature.
Appropriate for children.
But if nothing else, we can move on to the next topic. And speaking of kids, nice transitions. Toys R Us. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. 6 years after going bankrupt, I can't believe it's only been 6 years. Toys R Us will now open 24 new stores. This is where if I had a good working soundboard, we definitely throw the little clap, audience applause. 6 years after declaring bankruptcy, yes, they literally went out of business. Toys R Us will return with 24 stores across the U.S. Toys R Us, which went bankrupt years ago, will open. Just repeating it. The brand will also have stores in cruise ships and airports. So we all remember Toys R Us with the backwards R. It's as a classic in 90s, actually 90s or 2000s, as it gets. Now, like I mentioned before, we're fake gold on here. And I remember an even older joint. What was it called? KB Toys. I was a more KB Toys type of dude. But this is not, it's neither here nor there.
You're dating yourself there. I don't know that.
Hey, man, I'm just saying, if you were there, you were there. But anyway, like they're saying, Toys R Us is making a comeback. I don't know if it's unexpected, but I mean, I definitely remember the Toys R Us that was like in our quote unquote area. That joint been gone. But I mean, a lot of people are gonna see this and think this is like some of the best under the sun. And I just, again, these aren't nothing to spend too much time on, but I do want to know y'all thoughts. Did y'all greatly grow up and appreciate Toys R Us? And more importantly, would you bring your future kids to Toys R Us, to a toy store? Or do you think the concept of a brick and mortar store is just like not with the times? Because honestly, most people get their kids' stuff off of Amazon and stuff like that. We'll start with the older fella. What do you think, Ace?
So while I wouldn't have any problem bringing my hypothetical kid to Toys R Us, it seems like shocking that they would reopen and open brick and mortar stores. I have no idea
Jesus.
what their plan is for becoming profitable. Like, why'd they go bankrupt? Because you would figure because online shopping put them out of business.
Yeah.
But like, what is their plan? They got to have some type of plan. Like, are they selling cars out of there now or something? Like, it don't make no sense that they would just open and do the same thing.
It's the nostalgia factor.
No.
Nah, you don't open 24 stores for a nostalgia factor.
Nah, something.
What you mean? Y'all remember when we first heard the news that Toys R Us was going out of business? Everyone was sad.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, the only nostalgia factor I would get if I saw a new Toys R Us I'd drive by it and like, oh damn, Toys R Us, but I ain't bringing my kid in there.
Yeah, you're not going in. Like, realistically, you're not going in. This is
Damn.
baffling. Like, this truly baffling.
Damn. Jesus. It, so your nostalgia wouldn't. I mean, I guess adults going into Toys R Us for themselves is kind of even more suspect. But you would bring your child in for this one, like, back in my day, right?
Nah,
No.
Jesus.
I mean, the thing is, you'd be like, if you're going to Toys R Us, you got to go get toys. You could just
Yeah.
go to Walmart and get other stuff plus toys. If
Oh
you
my
if that's like,
gosh.
why would you go to Toys R Us? It's
See,
baffling.
y'all
Nah,
the
they're about to
pro.
be bankrupt in another 6 months again. Like,
Seriously, it doesn't make any sense.
Y'all are the problem. Consumers these days, they're too like y'all. I mean, obviously they're not. What's wrong with stopping at the mom and pop store, the little guy? What's wrong with that?
Toys R Us not the little guy.
you're right. In a
I
sense.
didn't say they are, but I'm saying your mindset is reflective of why mom and pop stores go out of business.
I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying, but I mean, it's not my problem. Like, it's just
Jesus
we live in
Christ.
the era of convenience and all that. It's like
Yeah. Maybe if they're in a mall, they have a better chance.
Well,
because
they said they would try like airports and cruises. That's the start.
airports, yeah, cruise. I mean,
That needs to be a big ass airport for them to put all
Yeah.
Toys R Us in there. By the way.
and the thing is too, like, you're buying toys in the airport. Are you? You must not be going on the
Yeah,
flight.
Are you
too,
coming?
like-
Are you coming or
Yeah,
going?
yeah, exactly.
Buy your kids the big ass Lego set and you try to sneak that on the plane. See how that go.
Right.
man, honestly, you can't go bankrupt and come back. Like,
What do you mean? That means there's probably more of a demand for it still.
but doesn't I mean I don't know nothing about nothing, but doesn't bankrupt mean that you don't necessarily dissolve the company, but you're kind of like you're saying, I give up. Like, you failed, bro. Like, you can't
That just
unfail.
means you have to go through the legal or financial process, to make sure
But they cheated though.
take
Like,
care of
if you
your
go-
assets. It's not a
if you
cheating. They
declare
probably
bankruptcy, it means that like you ain't got the money to pay the bills. Like,
yeah,
again,
and they obviously held on. Yeah, we do need to do more research on what bankruptcy actually means.
Yeah.
It obviously means that they kept the IP, so they still have the license, the Toys R Us license, and they saw the demand for it, and we got a little cash, we'll open up a
if
couple
I was a
stores.
bank, I'd be pissed low key, but I don't know. I mean, I would have rebranded, but maybe you can't rebrand because brick and mortar toy stores are pretty much done for unless you got the is.
Damn.
I don't trust it though.
I mean, you pretty much said as much, but for you, Ghost, you don't see the sense in these brick and mortar stores anymore.
Like 24, bro. Like, try it out with 1 or 2 and see how that goes. Like, 24 is just this shit gonna be empty. Like,
Jesus.
you see all the malls closing up, the stores, like
They're
brick and
definitely closing
mortar
them all,
stores
yeah.
like this is just unless Amazon goes out of business tomorrow, then
It depends on where they put them, and like that, they're gonna put some in the airports, which again, I need to see the size of these airports. But you could put one like in like Manhattan, one in like L.A.
You
one
know
in
what, man? You know
Chicago.
what, too? The other thing, I think kids stop. I mean, not little kids, but at the age where we stop playing with toys, kids are just using
Got the
iPad
tablets.
and all this
yeah.
video. Like, they don't, and even video games. You don't go to the store to really get video games anymore. Like, it doesn't even really make sense. I think I tried to do that for Street Fighter 6. That was the last time I tried to get a physical copy of a game. It wasn't in stock, and I was like, why even bother? They
didn't have Street Fighter.
Downloaded to the PS4 anyway.
They didn't have the biggest fighting game
They didn't
released
have the
this
newest-
year.
You know what? It's because I was trying to get a PS4. I think that was.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
Trying to do that.
okay. Yeah, let's be clear. Don't disrespect blaspheme.
But still, like, either way, I'm going to download the game onto my system and chuck the disc because I don't need it anymore. Like, why get a physical copy of a game? So again, like I don't see what the reason we're bringing back a store that you probably lost half your the
Consumers.
people that were supporting the store.
Yeah. You guys are bringing up every good point in the book. Yeah, you guys are absolutely right. Yeah, it's like it's a multi-factored like variable thing here. You have the fact that like one, people are less used to brick and mortar stores. Two, there's so much convenience of like Amazon or as well. And a lot of kids these days just aren't really hip to toys. Why would you play one toy for however many long we can play with a tablet that has 100 games? Yeah, it's not really, the math ain't really equaling out. But listen, I always say nostalgia is a heavy-handed weakness of humans. I think once you guys see that Toys R Us pop up in y'all neighborhood, yo, let me just, it's got a little motion. People are actually
But
checking it out.
here's the thing,
I think
though.
y'all will go
Like,
inside.
nostalgia expires. Like, sure, maybe the first time, maybe first 2 times you see, you're like, oh damn, I'll go check it out just for old time's sake. But a year after they open, you really think people will still have that nostalgia factor? I don't
Listen,
think
you're
so.
right, but they could also be thinking, and we're not gonna spend too much more time on this. They could also be thinking, let's try to like, revitalize the toy economy. Like a lot of kids aren't really hip to toys. Let's see if we can like introduce toys to a new generation of kids, get them hooked on it.
Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
That's kind of a crazy way to phrase it, but yeah, I don't know. We'll come back to this in like, I don't know when they're gonna open them, but a few years and we'll see.
Yeah,
And when, I mean, if they fail,
we're gonna be coming back to say all 24 stores are closing.
yep, they should have just had us in the think tank.
Oh
Look, this is
man,
10 minutes. We already told them why it's a bad idea.
the whole thing, all the investors. Yeah. Listen, salute to Toys R Us. Hey man, I used to love Toys R Us. I actually used to love KB Toys, but that's near nor there. Anyway, if nothing else, we can move on to the next joint. Yes. Here we are back at space. It's one of our recurring themes. So, salute the Shade Room. Here we have a story. NASA plans to build homes for astronauts and civilians on the moon by 2040. So, at the time of recording 2023, that's less than 20 years.
Wait, what?
So,
Okay, gotcha.
you almost had me like, whoa. Anyway, in 2024, NASA plans to build homes for astronauts and civilians on the moon. NASA says they will send a 3D printer to the moon to accomplish this. The printer will use moon rocks, mineral dust, and fragments to build each home. Yeah, I definitely read this beforehand. NASA contracted a Texas-based company called Icon to assist in building landing pads and roads on the moon. Nikki
Werkheiser.
Nikki Werkheiser, NASA's Director of Technology Maturation, says we're at a pivotal moment. And in some ways, it feels like a dream sequence. It feels like it was inevitable that we would get here. NASA's already creating a plan to execute the mission in November 2024, which is basically next year. They plan to be sending 4 human crews to orbit the moon. In the following year, they plan to send humans to land on the moon's surface for the second time in history. So NASA is literally making moves. And we talked about this a couple of times. It shouldn't be retreading too much history. I just want to know y'all thoughts now that it's even closer than it's ever been, which every time we talk about a story about space, it's always, in theory, closer than it's ever been. Yeah, real quick. NASA's building homes. And again, in the next 20 years, that's definitely within our lifetimes, God willing. People are going to be on the moon. Who all is down for it? Ghosts, what do you think? You down to live on the moon? Or do you think even in that time span, it just doesn't sound feasible to you?
Yeah, I mean, I could go for a hotel for a couple weeks, but I ain't trying to live there. Oh, step outside. I look outside. Damn, I wonder With the if the grass is great, nope, it's all fucking rocks and it's boring, bro. Like I don't want to live on the. I'll visit.
What?
It'll be cool for a little bit, but
This is
where's
why
the
here
scenery?
on our
Where's the
podcast
stores, bro? Like I
you
want to
love
go
ghosts.
running. Oh, I can't because I'm about to fly out. Come on now. Nah, I'm straight. Again, I'll
You
go visit. I'll visit for a little, but I ain't trying to live there.
what's that new space game that came out? StarCraft.
Our fields.
Starfield. Who's on human playing way too much Starfield? If they plan to build an environment in which humans can live, it's not gonna look like you're in the desert. They're obviously going to build roads and not bio,
This gonna
like
be
natural environments.
so fake. I mean, it's not real though. It's fake. Like, what if I wanted to live there and start a garden? What about that? Like, I can't do that.
Listen, all you need
I
to
have to walk around in my damn with the astronaut helmets and all. Nah, bro. I'm trying to wear a spacesuit just to go outside. Like, are you
listen.
crazy?
We're all engineers here. Let's just take a second. All you need to have, natural life is water, some soil, and some light. I'm sure they can produce those things on the moon. I'm sure they'll have biodomes or whatever you need to produce oxygen, so you don't have to lug around in a spacesuit all the time. They can recreate. We can build cities these days. Don't you see what they're doing in Dubai, building a whole city in that wall? Like they can do it.
I don't think that's gonna work, by the way. But
that's another conversation. I agree with you, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I'm sure they could whip up something, but it's like it's just gonna feel inauthentic for one, because it's not real. Like it's different. I don't know, maybe I'll enjoy the moon aesthetic versus living here on Earth, but it's I don't see it. And again, you can't skirt around the space station thing unless they build like biomes and greenhouses or whatever you call them that people can walk around without their helmets and all that. But you can't just skirt around that. Like,
They're gonna build an NBA bubble. What you mean?
I ain't trying to live in no bubble now. Damn. Well, Doug, you want to go to someone else's house? Like you got to put on your whole spacesuit. You got to get rid. Come on now, like that's not happening. Again,
Wow.
I'll visit, but I ain't trying to live there.
All this time when people said touch grass, apparently ghosts had to make sure it was real grass. I never knew.
Exactly. I ain't trying to touch rock. Man.
All right. Well, how about yourself, Ace? We've had back and forth conversation about living in space. You almost have your opportunity. What do you think?
I'm 100% with ghosts. I'll take a trip. I would like to experience it, once or twice, but definitely not living. I couldn't even. For me to, and this is kind of a personal thing. I'm very much, I think I'm very much rooted to our local environment, and maybe there's different places in the world that or in the US that are similar that I could probably stay for a long time, but um there's just certain things that I have to have in my environment to feel comfortable. For example, trees, like just
Why
like
y'all think they can't plant trees on the moon?
I don't. It's not going to be the same. And
Exactly.
if it doesn't feel real, like if it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't. I don't think I'll ever feel at home in this place. Like again,
All right.
for me, going out to California, going out to Vegas, the deserts that they've made these communities that would not even be able to survive without some of the technology that we have now. It doesn't feel natural. So that's kind of a me thing, but either way, I mean, I guess that's kind of what we're talking about. Could I do it? And I don't think I could for those reasons.
Dang. I thought we were hyped for the moon. Nobody want to go to the moon all of a sudden. Nobody want to go to space.
I ain't trying to live
No,
there.
not really.
Wait, hold up. Were you the one that was we had that whole long ass argument, and then at the end of it, you were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I do want to go to space." Is that you? I can't remember. There was some BS.
Wow. That's how I sound, huh? Listen, I've always, and I was probably still standing on the argument that the idea of space is cooler than the actuality of space. And I strongly believe the vast majority of people believe this. Like you guys are saying, I think
I agree with that. That
a
definitely
lot
wasn't
of
the
people
argument.
would like to visit, but when we start talking about the idea of like any type of long-term commitment to space, by the very definition of space is a long-term mission, most people wouldn't want that. That's basically what I was saying. And I did finish it by saying space is cool, and I would like to see some of it potentially one day. But
So you want to go live on the moon?
you know what? Not to be like, what's that expression? Like the odd man out, but like if you, I do believe that we can create some Earth, like, and especially like a lot of people like the idea. Okay, so so read me this. A lot of people like the idea of leaving their local vicinity and going to live in a new city. A lot of people like to go live in Atlanta. A lot of people like to go live in Houston, Miami. What's the difference between that feeling and then the moon?
Bro, are you getting Wi-Fi on the moon? Like, what you mean?
I can that will be the very first thing that's there. I can assure you they'll have Wi-Fi. Let's be very clear. Listen, if listen, I like modern homes. If they go up on that moon and make it look modern and make it look good and make it feel good, I'll live on
What's
it.
the point of living there versus you might as well just live here.
Listen, what's the cost of rent on the moon? Let's have some real conversations. What if it's cheaper?
That's a good question. That's a very good point. If there was
Moving to the moon
monetary
is
incentive,
cheaper
like
is
significant
absurd,
monetary
bro.
incentive,
That's crazy. Well, honestly, it's probably only going to be rich people living on the moon, right?
Nah,
'Cause
you're actually right. It's only gonna be the wealthy.
it's going to be like the billionaires. There ain't going
Yeah.
to be no regular civilian.
Yeah, actually, you're actually right. They say civilians, but obviously they mean like the higher end civilians that can actually afford the cost of a literal rocket going to the moon.
I do wonder if there's going to be like any type of, I don't know, like advantages to having businesses on the moon, like doing different types of manufacturing or things like that. That would be
If we go to the
interesting.
moon to industrialize, just
They're
burn our
they're
society to the
they're,
ground. Like,
they're
this-
definitely gonna industrialize it. They might
No, I
literally.
mean, yeah, they probably will, but
that's sad.
is there any
bro.
advantage to it as well? And
They actually might mess around and like mess up waves and all
yeah,
type
true,
of,
true.
They definitely are. There's gonna be an explosion, some industrial plant, and fuck up world of your honor.
They already jack up the world. As soon as they get on the moon,
Man,
Tides are going to be messed up.
hey man, it is what it is. Listen, the moral of the story is it sounds like over here nobody's really trying to live on the moon, but I'm in support of the moon colonization, even though a lot of people are anti-colonization. But that's neither here nor there. I feel as if I end a lot of these topics with it's neither here nor there. Anyway, you know,
warm.
they definitely gonna have to work to produce the level of heat that we need for a sustainable life. They're gonna have to figure that one out. Although they can make, like we're talking about the nuclear reactors. Nice, see how
bro, like
see how the
how
topics
are
just
we,
blend
how
together.
are we condoning this?
I'm
We
not.
shouldn't be going
just.
to the moon to
I'm just talking. I'm just talking. But if there's nothing else on the literal moon, I'm pretty sure we'll have more space. I bet you in a couple weeks. Hey, we're sending 3D printers to Mars. Wasn't the other company trying to send people to Venus?
Yeah.
It's like a space race.
Well, I mean, that was just like I think that was just like but pretty sure no one's ever going to be living on Venus.
Yeah, that's why it was so outlandish because they said F the moon, F Mars. We're going to Venus. Jesus. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure we'll have more conversation about space travel. So, if there's nothing else on this for now, we can move on to the next topic. Yes. There's actually two things you got to pull up for this.
I'm gonna have to refresh this.
Okay, take your time. So yes, when I was putting together the list of stuff, I was thinking about how this is going to be a very hip hop themed podcast. You know, we are quote unquote rooted in hip hop here. That sounds kind of lame, but anyway. But also, I have to make sure we throw in some other stuff as well because we're very well rounded here on this podcast. We talk about everything from music, arts, history, science, finances. Did I already say history? History, politics. Actually, scratch that. We don't really talk about politics here. But if you that recorded his wife that just came home from doing a long shift, snowing or shoveling snow, we'll talk about that. But to start getting back to what I was saying, start the more quote unquote hip hop related topics. We got a story that came across myself and Ghost desk, and it's kind of interesting. And I was thinking, well, we're not obviously, well, I shouldn't say this because maybe we are versus some people on here. While we don't necessarily have any bad blood with the Kardashians and their whole life, it's obviously not a thing that generally interests us. But, every now and then, if there is something that, we can glean something from and have a conversation from, we're not opposed to that. So, I'll let it play. We'll let it play, but just for the headline, Kim K opens up about getting a manny, for anyone that doesn't know, that's a male nanny, to have a male around following her split from Kanye. So let's listen to what she had to say.
My household and even in our family, it's like very female dominated.
Should we take a girls pick? Yeah, let's do it.
And I recently hired a manny. I really wanted a male around that was going to be picking them up and taking them to sports. And I was scared out of my mind to tell their dad that. When he was dropping off the kids, Kanye introduced himself, played 2-on-2 with Saint and him, has been so nice to him, saying, hey, if you're going to help raise my son, because he handed him the ball like really easily or something, and he's like, don't do that, make him go get it himself. These are like some of the rules that I would want. And I was like, oh my God, okay, that's great.
There you have it. Go over to the other thing. Just in case that wasn't like well digested, or you can't really hear everything. Kim K reveals he had, like I said, hired a male nanny for his son to have a male influence following the divorce from Kanye West. And they are, quote, saying, I do think my household and even my family is very female-oriented. And I recently hired a manny. I wanted a male around that was going to be picking them up and taking them to sports. And I was scared out of my mind to tell their dad being Kanye West. AKA, yeah. So, sounds somewhat reasonable. We have a woman, single mom, that has kids enough to acknowledge that at the end of the day, raising kids is a part process where you need the nurturing of a mother, but they also need the male energy, disciplinary, all the things that encompass a male in their lives as well. And since they're no longer with their father, even though I would argue just because you're not with their father doesn't mean that they shouldn't be getting that, but maybe that implies that you're not getting a lot from their father, which is a whole nother question or another conversation. But they implemented something to try to work around that, i.e. a male nanny, which Manny is a little kind of close to mammy, but that's just if your dyslexia is tweaking on any given day. So the boiler moral of the story is woman hires male nanny so their young sons have male figure in their life. Simple enough. what do we think of this? And again, we don't have to it's tied to this family because this family is a whole nother conundrum within itself and complex in TV shows and every aspect of their life on the internet. But just in general, do you think it makes sense for a family that doesn't have their own like strong male figure to kind of outsource one? Or do you think if it's not, I mean, it's kind of cruel to say, but or do you think if they don't have that, then they have to, the mother just has to adapt or they have to just deal with it? I guess we'll start with you, Ghost. I remember we were talking about this briefly. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's definitely weird, but conceptually, it makes sense. Would it be? Yeah, it will be very. I'll say it, but I do think it's
honest
interesting
conversations only.
that the woman in this scenario had this idea, which I appreciate that, but a lot of the times, some women's in a situation like this will think that they can be the father and
Yeah,
all that. And not in as many words, but it's interesting. I don't know. It's very bizarre. Like I'm wondering what the vetting process was like. Like what it's kind of like a stepdad situation, but really not. So if she does end up getting married to something else, then does the manny still stay on and the kids would have 3 male?
Yeah, I mean,
what if the manny wants to retire and the kids are attached to him? Like,
oh yeah, you're right. So I was gonna say, realistically speaking, if their main role is to be a male figure in their lives, and that's no longer really necessary, then yeah, you just dump them. But you're right. If they grow an attachment to them, that would kind of suck.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like she's bringing him to sports and throwing around the football. I don't know the full extent of what they're doing, but if it's more surface level, and that it's one thing. But I don't know. Kids are very easily attached, and I just don't know if a manny is. It's a position that could easily not be like he could be the manny one week and the next week he's out doing. So I don't.
He's out doing what? Sorry, you broke up a little.
Sorry, so he's out doing something else. Like he got a new job or he has a new client or whatever.
I mean, but some of that's applicable with if you had a female nanny or just a nanny.
I mean,
children
yeah,
get attached to the nanny too, and then maybe the nanny has to go somewhere else, and then they're just not in their lives anymore.
True, that is true. Yeah, it's just kind of weird to me.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And talking about this, I almost wonder if this is more of like a female-related podcast topic because I guess like the most like hypothetical you can put yourself into is like I don't know if you had a wife and children, and God forbid, but something happened to you. Would you be okay with them, or would you prefer them to get a male nanny?
I feel like for dudes, like if it was a dude trying to get a female nanny, it just seems like it seems like there's more potential for the dude to get attached to the female nanny and to look at her a certain way for some. I don't know.
What if she's out? What if she's out?
Yeah, that is different, I guess, but
because no one said this is a young Chad being a manny. This could be like old grandpa, basically, old uncle.
It's probably an old young Chad, but you're right. It could be. I guess maybe it's kind of similar to what do they have like the Big Brother programs and kind of on that wave. So it's not unprecedented, just a little strange. But
so some more story. You'd be like Kanye, you let your children have a male nanny, manny.
Well, you mean female nanny?
No.
Like if I'm in the
I know we like to play like opposites on this podcast sometimes, but I think specifically like the more like the reason why I said the story is because one, male nanny is like no one even realized that existed, and two, you see somebody specifically trying to outsource that male, like somewhat dominant, like parental disciplinary figure in their life to make sure they still grow up to be men. Because if young boys only grow up around women, well, we've seen how that turns out in a lot of instances.
Yeah.
So, would you rather your young male children have an outsourced male figure, or would you rather the mother play both parties?
Preferably, it wouldn't be outsourced. It'd be, excuse me, like a relative, uncle,
Yeah,
family
an
member.
uncle.
But if that's not an option, I don't know. I guess like the term, the phrase "manny" is kind of throwing me off. But if he's like specifically geared for that role, and he's like, or it's like a big brother thing where he has experience dealing with kids, I guess it's just there's so much gray area where it could end up turning into something like attachments are formed that aren't felt on either side or both sides, I should say. But I don't know. I guess I'd be okay with
Okay, there you go. Nice and progressive. Ace, what about yourself? Do you think that outsourced male figure in a young boy's life is something that you could imagine being reasonable, or do you think this has more bad connotations to it than positive?
I am pretty much 100% in support of it.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think it's really as deep as we're like making it. I think regardless they would have uh, a nanny, whether it's male or female, and that I feel like that's the role. Like the guy is filling the role of the nanny, except he's a male. So because he's a male, he'll the hope is that he'll be able to have some type of positive influence on the young boys, be a positive male role model for them. But at the end of the day, he's still a nanny. Like he's still doing the job of a nanny, doing whatever they need him to do. I'm kind
Mm,
of thinking like a Jeffrey, Fresh Prince,
oh
like a
yeah, the
Jeffrey.
butler.
Yeah, yeah, he's just doing the whatever tasks that need to be done.
Hopefully
Um,
he's like funny too.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's just a male that happens to be in there. It's like a if there was a male that happened to be a teacher, like a kindergarten teacher or something like that, you would hope that um that that teacher would be could potentially be a positive male role model for the kids in his class as well. But at the end of the day, his job is to be a teacher. Like somebody's going to fill that role regardless. And I don't necessarily think that the kids would um form any more of an attachment or see this anymore as any more of a job than just we have nannies at the house, we've had a nanny, whatever. This one happens to be a male. I don't really think it's going to be more complex than that per se. It's just again, hopefully he has a positive influence on the young boys. um so yeah, I'm pretty much 100% in support of it. And the fact that she mentioned that Kanye was um good with it, and like he was kind of telling them how he would like the guy to be around the kids as well. It's there's something they're all in with. So sound sounds perfectly fine to me. I got no.
Now, the reason why there is some complexity to it, and the reason why it's a story is because okay, so you gotta think about it like this. Because I actually can appreciate like where your mind is at. Like it's what's the problem? It's just like there's just a nanny but it's male. So think about the role that your pops played in your life, or
Mhm.
yeah, specifically your pops, but also some of the males that are in your life. You do like what? And briefly, how would you kind of describe what they did, what they provided to you, briefly speaking?
Um, they provided like influence in terms of things that I realized that I could be capable of. Like they provided examples for things I could strive to do.
Okay, that's good.
Physically,
I'm writing some of this
mentally.
down.
Yeah, physically, mentally. They just kind of give you an idea of like the things you can strive to achieve. Um, and of course, they'll talk to you about life, give you advice on different things. Whether it be school, whether it be work, whether it be women, like just all type of stuff. Like they try to steer you in the right direction, you to not make some of the mistakes that they've made. Really realizing, of course, that you're gonna make your own mistakes, but try to help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that they've probably fallen into.
Okay. So those are. I mean, you kind of said a lot in the second thing, but it kind of boils down to inspiration in a lot of advice on life.
Yeah.
So, and that makes sense. I think a lot of males would agree. Now, the thing. Well, let's start off with inspiration because that's the easier one. So, what do you find inspiring about your pops or the people, the males in your life? Wouldn't you say it's because they were doing a good job at providing for the family and showing that hard work pays off?
I mean, that was one piece of it, but that was like mainly, I mean, mainly, if not all, my dad. So I still I still got positive role models that weren't my dad that still were able to have that effect on me. My uncles, um, and other members of the church, etc.
How,
And
but
even if
how would you say they conveyed it though?
well, even if they weren't providing for me, I still knew they were providing for their family. I still knew how to work, and you know,
Exactly.
the older I got, could understand that they were busting their ass
Exactly.
to put food on the table.
100%. I'm 1000% with you. So how, if possible, does one in somebody's life convey that when they essentially and effectively work for you or work under you?
I mean, the kid could definitely see it that way. Um, and maybe it would take time for them to truly understand, um, truly understand that although the person, although the person's job is literally like to work for them, to, kind of cater to them, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're under them, or that they're not a,
But they are. It's the house help.
that
It's
they're
it's the nanny.
exactly. That is a childish way to look at it. And what I'm saying
No,
is
it's the way.
the older you get, the more you will understand that just because the person was working for you doesn't mean that you can't look at them as a role model in terms of their work ethic, their drive. Again, if they have a family, to put food on the table for their family, to do something that maybe maybe you even would consider demeaning, or maybe they consider demeaning, but ultimately they're able to humble themselves to do it because they need to be able to provide for their family. Like there's still a lot of lessons you can take from somebody that quote unquote is under you.
The thing is, I'm not trying to equate this with the meeting or like say it's like has a wholly negative connotation. But what I'm gathering, and I'm not trying to spin your words or anything or put words in your mouth, but like I think the reason why some of the male figures in your life and our lives were able to have this level of inspiring, is because our perspective of them is that they are doing something on a level that we hope to achieve one day. This it can't necessarily, and I don't think that can necessarily be pieced together if you have somebody that they're on your schedule, if they're on your clock, if you are telling them what to do. That it operated. The reason why it operates is because the men in their life were essentially, we're gonna go work here, we're gonna go work on this, we're gonna go, like, they're calling the shots, opposed to somebody that's working for the family. I'm gonna go get the groceries, I'm gonna clean up. Like, these things don't necessarily work in the same regards. And then to your second point, and again, this is a bit more like depending on who exactly you bring in. But if you're looking for somebody that can provide you with life advice, will how to you know operate in the context of school, marriage, or dating, or whatever the case may be, work ethic and things of that nature. Again, if you're obviously, it's a sitcom example, but obviously we saw Jeffrey do that sometimes in Fresh Prince.
Yes.
But at the same time, there is a level of like, where do you get your experience to be at a point where you're the hired help that you can come in and help a young male, like help him find his path on where he needs to be in life, unless you're directing him to be a male nanny for the next, to be a male influence for the next person. But how can you do that if you're my male influence and you're just telling me about, like, not you're just telling me about, but the thing I'm looking at is a person that's a hired help, and then you're helping me to get to where, not to where you are going to be, but what are you helping me to get to, is what kind of the conundrum here.
Yeah. So again, like I think maybe it is difficult for a young child to rationalize or understand or see past the surface level of this person works for me, so there's nothing I can learn from them. But again, like I think I've made it clear that it's not that once it's not even close to being that one-sided or easy to just like easily dismissed. I mean, I don't want to get all into it, but I find that there's people in my life that are quote unquote subordinate to me that I still find to be um I don't know, like I don't want to say inspirational in a way, but that I respect for again, like their work ethic, the things that they can do, the speed at which they can work, whatever. Like there's a lot of qualities that you can still pull away and um take as things you aspire to, even if the person isn't doing something that is like one to one something that you want to be to do, for example these kids aren't going to want to grow up to be nannies, but at the same time, there's quotes and traits of this person that can rub off on them and can be inspirational to them. There's life experience, regardless of what the person is doing now as their work, that can still be very valuable to a child. So I, I like again surface level, yeah, I don't want to be a nanny, so I take learn. What am I going to learn from this person? Sure, but that's a very like it's very easy um to a person, even if to a young person, um they're
The thing
not
is, and I'm in no way trying to say that I'm, or we're like being dismissive of the level of inspiration that somebody that's quote unquote beneath you could provide. Obviously, we here at 1,000%, 1,000% respect. People that are in more servile positions are more like, you know, at the more closer to the bottom end of things that people need to do to help a society run. We super respect everyone that does those type of positions. The thing is, and maybe this where it gets kind of away from your direct experience, because again, I kind of threw some examples out, but I think, and they even said as much, like a male influence goes, they want inspiration. I mean, I don't even want to focus on this family, but it doesn't really take a lot for a family to be able to go to somebody they don't necessarily have to work for them to get that inspiration. Like you can find somebody in your local community that is doing certain things that will allow a person to be inspired. I think if you really want that male aspect of that, someone, and even again, I don't want to hyper focus on it, but even to what, like I'm kind of in the mindset of what what Kanye was trying to relate about. Like, hey, don't be soft with him. You have to let him learn these life lessons. These are like these are specific. These are the more male, like male related things. Because again, if we're solely focused on things like inspiration, well, you could hire a female nanny or just a nanny, and then she can inspire you, right?
explain my points. Like one, the Kanye thing, you just explained how the male can be uh can be more I don't how would you say it? Not aggressive, but um allow the kid to, dust themselves off, pick themselves back up, like influence them in that way. And they don't have to be, they don't have to have a position of authority above the child necessarily. They can still be in that
Well,
servile role and still
that
have
was
that influence.
well, that was the point there. While Kanye might have co-signed off on that behavior, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to where these two things can like completely be in sync, to where the child completely respects you as a person completely respects you as a male role model that they look up to, but at the same time you are there to be at my calling back. Essentially,
Yeah,
these
I
things can't
get it.
exist.
I
Like the reason why, and I'm not trying to put this on you, but the reason why most people have a respect for their pops or the males in their life is because they are the ones that are more in command. If I'm in command, it's only so much that you can try to not be soft with me, because at the same time I'm talking extremely. We don't know the context of what the male nanny actually provides. They probably don't do the one-to-one duties as a female nanny. But if I can say, hey, go get me my yogurt and my apple juice and my fruit snacks, how much can you be the person that I look up to for this like dominant male, don't be soft with me figure?
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, even in something as that, there can still be a level of respect, especially for an adult, that is enforced, say, by the mother, by Kanye, that you don't just like talk to this person however you want. It's please, as a thank you, and it's a respect thing. You still have to see them as a an adult, an authority figure that yes, you can ask them to do these things for you, but at the end of the day, there's still a level of respect that has to be had. So, while I do understand
It's not
that
like you're
there is,
describing basic human manners respect, not a authority respect.
that's fine. Again, while I do understand that there can be that this can potentially not go 100% in the way that they want it to, I think it there is a chance that it could, and also I don't think it's something that they were going to do anyway. Like I feel like they were. Why not have it be a male to have a potential for um that male to be like a role model for the young boys? Not necessarily that this is like the 100% the answer to the boys not having a constant father in their life, but this is a way that we can do it when we're gonna have a nanny anyway. Why not have it be a male
I get you,
and
and I
potentially
mean,
get that benefit?
yeah, that's the key word I'm kind of harping on right now is the potential, and I guess that would be maybe the next question. Like, if you had to put a rating to like, what's the percentage of the potential that you think it will have the like most beneficial outcome?
I think it's
Because
very dependent.
before you were more like all in that this is 100% like I'm for this and sounds great. But the more we talk about it, it seems like it's actually maybe not 100%. Maybe it's like well, I don't know what you estimated now.
No, I'm still 100% in support of it. I don't know
You're
100% if
in
it's going
100%
to.
support of something that may not work.
Yes, as opposed to a female, go male. Yes, 100% in support of that. It's definitely the
Maybe I'm tweaking,
chances.
but that doesn't
The
make any
chances.
sense.
Okay, listen. The chances of them
Would you be
having a
100% support of a
the
car
chances
that you
of
know
them
has a
having a
50% chance to
male
work?
role model, the chances of them having a male role model in a female is zero. The chances of them having a male role model in a male,
Not based on
so
some of the things that you
they're
said.
going to have a nanny anyway, is higher. It's higher than having a
Yes, higher.
like
It's not 0%.
exactly. So that's why I'm in support of it. I'm still in support of it. I don't know if it's going to work, but I know it's going to work better than having a female.
One, not necessarily based off some of the criteria that you gave, and two, I still maybe I'm
No,
like
not based on the criteria.
because you said someone that can be an inspiration and someone that can give advice. Women can give that. Women do it
Okay.
every
Okay.
day.
So basically, they don't need a male role. What are we talking about? That's like saying that's like just going back and now saying
don't come in.
males raised by single
Listen,
mothers
listen. Don't
are
come in and
perfectly.
ask obvious questions.
What are we
I
talking about?
am literally just challenging this notion, and specifically at this point, I'm 100% in on something I'm not necessarily sure would work. Maybe I'm tweaking. Maybe it goes even way in. That doesn't click to me.
Wait, say that again because you cut off.
You're saying that you are 100% in support of something that you necessarily don't. You can see how there's potential gaps and holes in it. That's what's not 100% clicking to me. And again, if I'm going based off, this is why I asked you specifically to get your thoughts on it. But some of the criteria that you listed that you can get from a male, well, I mean, you can get that from a female as well. It's not like you couldn't get that from a female.
There's the advice and the inspiration that I'm talking about is things that I haven't gotten from the females in my life. So,
I mean, that doesn't mean you can't get it from a female.
If I had to summarize it, just to keep it basic, a woman's not going to teach you how to be a man. A man can. Not to say that they always will, but I guess that's more abstract than the specific stuff Ace was talking about it, but that's how I quantify it. And
that's something we went to. Sorry, I don't know. That's something I would 100% agree on. But when we get to some of the more nitty gritty things of like advice, like one of the things you mentioned with school, I mean, a woman can't give you some good advice about school.
Yeah, I mean,
you will get two different. I mean, not necessarily about school per se, but there are things that you're going to get two different perspectives on, male versus female. If you have the females in your life, but you don't have necessarily a constant male father figure, you can potentially get that from this male nanny.
Potentially, yes, we agree.
Yes, which you definitely won't get if they go female nanny.
Dang, that's where you lose me. Damn.
Can a female nanny teach a boy how to be a man?
We gotta not go based off your standards, but yes, correct. They can't.
Okay.
And
I don't know if it's confusing you, but like the advice and the inspiration that I'm talking about, yes, it's partially just general life stuff, but at the same time, I'm including things that you can't just learn necessarily from a female.
Such as?
You give me examples. You know.
Oh, see, yeah, it gets tough, don't it? Listen, I again, and more so just the challenging of the ideals position. I don't necessarily disagree with some of these things. I do think again, the 100% thing on something that's potential is kind of but it's not anything to harp on, I don't think. Obviously, we 1000% do agree on young children, not just young boys, although you could argue maybe it's more needed for young boys. But young children definitely need both the motherly aspects of a woman and the fatherly aspects of a man in their life. And, hopefully, in most cases, and not in most cases, but hopefully you get it from biological dad, older brothers, older cousins in their life that can come in and help fill those gaps. And then maybe if you don't have any above, you start to outsource it. And man, if it works for somebody, I'm not completely mad at it. But obviously, I don't think anybody can look at this and dead ass in their face and say, oh yeah, this is completely everyday run of the mill, because obviously the reason why this is a story is because male nannies is traditionally not a thing. But salute to Kim K, which I don't really say often. Damn, somebody said, why not bring in Bruce? Anyway, yeah, if there's nothing else, I would say let's move to the next topic. And we are moving to the next topic, but it's still Kanye related. Oh, man. And actually, Talib Kweli posted this. He said, kind of got to listen to it, but he said, well, damn, I liked Cop Shot the Kid too. Somebody should tell Consequence the good music is not a thing anymore. So if you don't know, Talib Kweli and Consequence, which again, you have to be, I would say relatively, maybe I can correct me if I'm wrong, inundated with hip hop to even know these individuals and know that they're beefing nonetheless. For this to have any level of context, but what Talib Kweli is not talking about, what he's talking about is not relevant here. It's Talib Kweli, I love him all the same. He shared a clip of Kanye addressing some individuals that used to have a extremely close relationship in his career. Let's hear what he had to say. I have to refresh it.
And then, like I told you, yeah, like the label sale is a 3 to 6 month process.
It ain't gonna be in this now. And Scooter ain't gonna be no, I'm still putting my name on the shit. I need to get rid of good music because I'm great. And guess what? Good is the enemy of great. The fuck I'm doing giving Wanna Love You to fucking Teyana? What the fuck I'm doing giving that Daytona album to Pusha? What the fuck I'm doing, bro? That shit that shit was 3 dark fantasies that I gave away. Cop Shot the Kid, Nas rapping all goddamn offbeat on it. Don't even want to shoot a video. They shoot the video, don't even tell me. These motherfuckers don't appreciate me. All these motherfuckers is trying to use me. I'm the greatest motherfucking artist living, and I can do everything. And I'm not being expanded, and my vision is not being expanded to what it is. I'm performing at other people's festivals and shit. I've been wanting a fucking festival.
I feel as if, again, if I had that soundboard, there would be a round of applause. For anyone that feels like Kanye is not Kanye anymore, that was very much a Kanye rant if I ever heard one. Now, obviously, for some of these later topics tonight, it's going to be some hip hop talk. Like, we're kind of out of the, hey, this is what I would do advice type of thing. Let's just have some classic barbershop hip hop talk. Now, as you heard, we might replay it again because it was actually a pretty good rant. I'll give you like a A minus. He's basically venting his like regret for producing some of these albums, specifically kind of those 7-song albums that he went on to produce for Good Music Members and Nas, respectively. The Daytona Pusha T album, I forgot the name of Teyana's album, but the album with I Wanna Love You, Hurry. It was a Rose in Harlem, I believe. That might have been a record off of that. I think that was also the name of the thing. And then obviously the album that Nas did, one of the songs on it being Cop Shot the Kid. So yeah, it's just interesting. And obviously, to give a bit of context, there's like a secret, not so secret. The reason why I say it because it wasn't like promoted or anything. It was like a documentary that Kanye's doing, and it's being put out or is out, and he's there's a lot more of his ranting and his current feelings on some of the things that he did in the past. There's even a clip that was going around of him like dissing Cardi B to calling her industry plant, and just him getting his again your typical Kanye getting not even being a bit subtle. I'm gonna say exactly what I want to say. So I heard this. And maybe because I care more about those albums and hip hop in general, but I'm curious to know what y'all think as well. What do y'all think when y'all hear Kanye Teak in this day and age, especially on those albums, which I think we all are familiar with? You think it's just typical Kanye, and these comments are like whatever? What do you think of these comments? And also what I kind of wanted to ask as well is, do you think loyalty should be like a factor in how you look at an artist?
What do you mean by like loyalty? Loyalty
to the other artists respectively? Because I mean, one of the big part of this rant as well is him like saying like good music is like pretty much dead. And again, this is more, I don't know if this is you have to be in hip hop culture to be in the know about, but like we all remember how much of a big thing the label of Good Music was, and like the Good Fridays and Kanye with Pusha T and Really Like Him or Not, Big Sean, and it was such a powerful, and a lot of dope music was produced out of that the Good Music era. But now he's effectively saying that stuff is dead. he's kind of being witty about it, saying I'm not good, I'm great, even though the good music, what it stood for was, it was a lot bigger than that. And it just seems like he's basically done with like a lot of the people that was a really pivotal part of his career. Like without Pusha T, without Teyana, without Nas, Kanye's not where he is, no matter how great he thinks he is. So I'm kind of curious to I'm curious to know hear what y'all think about like is loyalty like anywhere a factor in how you look at an artist. The fact that an artist could like again be very like tied to other artists, but because of maybe certain trajectories of how their career went, now they're pretty much saying they just regret it wholesale. What do y'all think? I'll start with you, Ghost. What do you think of Kanye's comments?
I don't know. I mean, well, correct me if I'm wrong. First off, he's pissed he gave away some good beats because he thinks that he could rap better on them, or is he trying to distribute them to other people he's collabing with?
I think it's more of a like he feels as if, and I'm kind of extrapolating this based off other things that have happened outside of the specific albums and this specific clip. But obviously, as you know, Kanye's his behavior as in recent times has been above questionable. So much though that he's literally banned from Twitter/X and Instagram. Maybe not Instagram, I forget. But he's getting banned. The stuff he said, his mental health issues has caused a lot of division in his life. And obviously, at a certain point, you can't stand behind that. Like how can Pusha T be like, yeah, Kanye's my main man, but at the same time, Kanye's saying the most wildest, outlandish, going on different platforms and saying like things that would get anybody canceled in a heartbeat. So I think the fact that he's not too happy with the artist that didn't stand behind him through all the madness. If that answers the question, my apologies, I kind of ranted myself there.
I don't know. I mean, for one, like as you mentioned, Kanye's like been wild. He's always some pretty epic rants, but it's like you can say all this Kanye, and he's entitled to think that like for one, I mean, Cop Shot the Kid wasn't a great song. That beat was not great either, to be honest. But it's like you can think that, but just make sure that the shit you're putting out is great, not good. Because I listened to your last two albums, bro, and that shit was not it. Like
Donna 1 and 2.
Y'all like Donna, and Donna was trash. Donna 2, I listened to part of it. That was garbage, trash. Like he's not putting out music that's good enough to be complaining about other people, in my opinion. I guess it's not really about the music for him. It's about feels that people betrayed him, and he's just trying to, like, I don't want to say lash out, but he's taking shots at him. And again, this is a leaked thing. It's not like he did it in public, but I don't know. It's like,
well, the purpose of it was to be public at some point. It's not like he's saying this behind closed doors without there's literally cameras all over the thing. Like were meant to be recorded.
Okay, got you. Well, yeah, in that case, so I take it back. It's like you can't be like a bench player talking shit about like LeBron or KD. Like I'm not to. That's kind of a extreme because Kanye's, even if he's fallen off, he still makes decent music. But I don't know. It's kind of besides the point. But if
we're just talking. I'm curious to know all y'all thoughts on it.
I don't know. Like focus on making good music yourself, bro. That should be his first focus. And then as far as the loyalty thing goes,
well, technically he doesn't want to make good music anymore. He wants to make great music. Yeah. But that's just a pun.
I mean, I'm not too hung up on the loyalty thing, specifically in Kanye's case. I think in general, you should have loyalty, specifically in like a producer rapper back and forth. Like there's been a lot of beefs over the years between producers and rappers for whatever reasons, and they split up, got back together, blah blah. But I don't think that it's a good look to be just talking shit on them and say that they like you can feel some type of way about how they dealt with you in a personal manner, but like it just feels a little weird to say dude's rapping off beat. Like, even if it's true, you kind of not supposed to say it. Like, you're the producer. But I don't have a problem with Kanye saying this because in his mind he specifically was betrayed, even if it was on a personal level, by Pusha T. And I don't know about Nas. I don't really know their history, but it's he's feeling
I mean,
quite.
we all remember we major
Uh,
late registration.
I don't
yeah,
remember
I mean
Nas
they
having
had
a verse on that, but
yeah they had some involvement, but I mean it's on a way different level than Pusha and Kanye. Like I'm saying, I don't know if Nas has had beef with Kanye like Pusha's had.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So yeah, it's I guess in his mind he feels like they turned his back on. He's just talking shit on him now, so I'm not too pressed about it. But in general, I don't think it's a good look.
Okay, so I guess since your focus is literally just the quality of Kanye's current music, even though he's like damn near pushing people, no pun intended, pushing people's back in, if he put out some bangers, you would still be all in to listen to his music.
Well, if he puts out bangers, then he'd be more entitled to talk his shit. Not to say that he would be 100% entitled, but I've heard his recent shit. It is trash.
Well,
Like
again,
he's going,
we don't have to focus
yeah,
on him
I don't want to keep harping on
specifically.
that. But
I'm just saying, like, let's say you had an artist and a producer, and they work super well together. They put out like music that you thoroughly enjoy, and then you know the producer. I guess since we're speaking from a he gave away self perspective, the producer, at a certain point in time, he's like, hey, this artist I was working with, I actually think the way they rapped on my album was trash. I'm better than I create better music alone or without them or whatever the case may be. And then they went on to put out new music. Would you be super in line to just go ahead and support that producer still, or would the fact that they're like a producer that moves like this, uh, even if they might be in the wrong, is it's all about the quality of the music?
for me, it kind of goes back to the whole artist versus the art argument. Much mind to what artists do or what they say, unless it's like super heinous. So if a producer I was a fan of did say something like that, then I would kind of look at them a little sideways. But I'm still gonna listen to their new stuff to see if it's good. So if it's bad, then I'll definitely look at them in a negative way, just because you made good music, you broke up, and then you dropped new stuff and it wasn't good. Like that's it. Kind of shows that you were carried, to be honest. But it's yeah, I'm gonna listen to it. It's not really gonna put me off at first, at least.
Got you. And then what about you, Ace? What do you think of Kanye's comments here? And do you think loyalty plays any factor in like what you think of an artist?
as far as his comments are concerned, I as I understand this kind of being a reaction to these artists not supporting him.
Oh, I didn't even vote for him when he ran for president.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense why he's doing this. The Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I can say about it. As far as like just in reaction to his comments themselves, I'm not surprised. But as far as loyalty being a factor of how I look at an artist, I think I agree with Ghost. Like it doesn't really matter to me if there's two artists I really like that start beefing. If they both continue to put out dope music, I'm going to listen to both of them. That doesn't really matter. And I have an example in mind. Um, yeah, I have at least one example in mind. Um, so yeah, I think that kind of touches on the like how much you respect the art versus the artist conversation. Like, I don't know, beefing, like I mean, beefing is kind of something that's supposed to happen in rap anyway. So yeah, I don't. It's
Yeah,
not going
but
to deter me.
loyalty is supposed to happen in hip hop as well.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, understanding the situation, like it. I guess it would kind of depend on what the what the reason for the separation is, or what the reason for the rift is. But at the end of the day, like music is almost always going to triumph unless it's something heinous, like Cole said. If they put out great music, it's gonna off principle, like this guy beefing and this rapper is my friend. I don't look at it like that. Like I just look at it as two artists making music. They had a riff for whatever reason. I'm still gonna listen to the music. And yeah, maybe I'll think of the artist differently, depending on what the rift was about, but probably still gonna consume the music. I'm
Yeah,
almost
that makes sense. I don't think I necessarily asked specifically about listening to the music, but I guess you said you also look at them differently a bit. But in the same vein, I guess like even handling you guys, I guess I am a bit more fake invested in just the sense that like I don't know, and especially like because when I hear this, like he's specifically talking about like those 7-track albums that he made, but I'm thinking like what's the record on what was it, Cruel Summer with him, Pusha T, and Ghostface. Probably should have just kept my thing up this entire time. It's just like and like records like Click, him and Jay Z. It's just it looks it just looks bad that that Kanye could make such dope music that the culture loved and respected, um, but because of his sentiments towards like how people have treated him or not supported him, he's like doing a lot of these things that just tarnish these relationships in a sense. I,
yeah, but so it's but what is it like? Is the problem? I don't know. Like, is the problem that that this is tarnishing your view of Kanye?
yes, very much so.
Hmm.
Like this is some lame shit to me, honestly speaking.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that can happen, but I don't know it because I don't have any relationship to these people other than listening to their music. It doesn't matter to
And
me.
and to
So
that
I got
point,
a question.
and to that point, I'll just go ahead.
I'm just real quick for you, Ace. I guess to frame it better, what if Doom, if he was still alive,
Rest in power.
Mhm.
rest in power, but what if he was still alive and he was talking shit about Mad Lib? Do they made
Yeah,
Mad?
it doesn't like would I potentially look different at Doom as a person? Maybe, although I don't really know, didn't really know much about his person, him as a person anyway. But as far as his music, and even as far as listening to Mad Villainy, I would still look at it from the time frame it was placed in. Doom and Mad Villain were making beastly music. They were tight during that time, and I can still put myself in that frame of mind. There's a real example, which is Vastair and LP, which they
Yeah,
made.
some backpack hip hop shit.
Yeah, I know. They made the Cold Vein together, along with Word Omega, Cannibal Ox, the whole group. They made the Cold Vein together. Vast Air and LP had a rift, and I don't think that's been resolved since. Vast Air since then hasn't released good music, in my opinion, or at least anything that's made me want to check for his stuff. LP has, and I still listen to LP. But when I go back and listen to the Cold Vein, it doesn't really. I'm not thinking about the beef between Vaster and LP. I'm just thinking about how dope the music was, and even if I'm putting myself in the mindset of like these two, um, being on the same track and producing a dope track, and like the camaraderie that they must have had at that time, I can still put myself back in that time and not think about the beef while I'm listening to the music. And that's really the only relationship I have to these people is listening to their music. I'm not really invested in who they are at the end of the day, per se.
Right. And I mean, going back to what you were saying, like the way I look at it, and again, this is not a wrong or right thing, and I could, very much say it isn't. I am probably too invested in, this as just like a person, but it's not necessarily like I feel like I'm gonna have to pick sides of the beef or anything like that, even though you can argue in this sense Kanye is kind of more blatantly wrong. It's just a sense that I do put some emphasis on loyalty and how when people come up together and work together and collaborate together and make things that are really have a lot of impact on the culture, for a person to like just turn around and like diminish those things and like again like diss those people and be like, hey, I made this for you, and I feel as if, and now all of a sudden I feel as if you didn't produce, you weren't rapping on it, or you weren't producing quality to what I wanted on that. It just seems like it's kind of a slap in the face of the culture, the record, like a lot of the more like non-tangible aspects of this. I don't know. We don't know any people from a can of paint to actually have any sentiment towards them. We're most likely never going to meet them or anything like that. But I'm just kind of think of it as like I just respect or disrespect lack of loyalty. I respect loyalty and I disrespect lack of loyalty from any aspect. If it could be two random stoners that I'm looking at down the street, but I'd have to know their backstory, of course. And if there's the person that's like showcasing this lack of loyalty, even though they've had important moments in life, that just rubs off on me the wrong way, and I just think it's some lame shit.
Do you think there's any way in which this could have happened and you would have agreed? Like, for example, if Kanye wasn't the enemy of the world right now, and he was still producing great music, and there was a beef that arose between him and Nas, and then he went back and said these things about the album with Nas and how it wasn't that great, and Nas was rapping off beat, because I remember that being kind of true for that album, but it's just Kanye saying it like as opposed to anybody else.
Yeah, let's be clear. To be honest, I've been kind of careful with my words. I enjoy some of the songs off that Nas album, like the Everything record. But I wouldn't say that whole album was the greatest, highest level production of Nas. And I think Nas even has some like reservations about how the album was released. But besides the point, yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I'm not specifically. Again, this is a situation where Kanye is kind of on the wrong side of history, but I'm not necessarily attached to Pusha T or any of these other individuals. Time Teller, it's just the way it played out, and I think specifically going back and speaking negatively on things does like look away, because I don't know. Whenever you're going back and speaking on things during that time period, none of this was said. There wasn't a word of this. Again, there was some comments on the Nas album specifically, but again, he never came out publicly and said any of these things. It seems like this is all falling in aftermath of the lack of support that you think that they should have been showing you, like the way things disbanded and things of that nature. Like if every the individuals that he mentioned voted for him, was riding through all the madness and all the cancelings and all the words that he said and all the I love so and so, I don't think we would see a situation where he's going back and say, hey, that Pusha T album was trash, that Teyana Taylor album was trash, that Nas album was trash. It seems like rooted in lack of loyalty. Why we get these comments.
Yeah. So what I'm asking you is if it was something else, like if it was like, again, Kanye and Nas had a beef for some other reason, but other than that, like Kanye was still just a perfectly normal, I mean, a normal rapper. He didn't do anything crazy. He didn't have the mental health issues. He was just still Kanye. And him and Nas have a beef. And then he talks about how the album he did with Nas wasn't good. Like, would you have a problem with it still because of a loyalty thing? Or would it be potentially okay if the situation was more so that Kanye, was quote unquote like in the right, or he had more leg to stand on.
I see what you're saying or asking. I think the dynamics of the circumstance could definitely change the outlook on it. Although I would say, in general, there are very few exceptions on which it's acceptable to go back and talk crap about something that you were heavily involved with, that you heavily produced, and that you at the time made no comments about. That in general isn't a good way to go about things. Like it shows a lack. It speaks very badly on your character. That when in the moment everything's good and cool, but then when things are a little dicey for whatever reason, it could be that someone defended you, rightfully so. But now when we were doing that, I didn't even like that album, and I hated the way you went about it. And again, if you said those things back in the day, and then maybe now you're just adding more information or saying or reiterating those sentiments, that would be one thing. But for years, it was okay. He put out those albums that was dope at the time. Well, some dope, some not so dope. But there was never any real big issue. But all of a sudden now, it's an issue.
I think like if in the situation that I'm proposing, I could be more accepting of it. And again, like to me, he's commenting more so on the Nas album specifically, having a problem with the quality of that. The other albums, it seems like he was just saying, I gave you great quality production, and you were able to, do something great with it, especially the push. Like, I mean, for me anyway, that was a clear like win.
No.
So to me, what he's saying is, I gave you all this supporting me. Like basically, that's what I'm getting for those ones. For the Nas is a little.
I agree with you. He's definitely making clear, like, hey, some of these albums I gave them away, quote unquote, gave them away, and you guys didn't stick by me. But for the Nas album, he's going a bit further and saying you didn't even do well in this album. These things are being lumped into one rant, so this is one conscious stream of thought being conveyed. And again, I would bet money on the fact that if Nas stood by him through all the nonsense, these comments wouldn't be made. I think there's a factor that he feels like they betrayed him. So now I'm gonna go back and say all these things that I've either had on my chest or I didn't feel until now, and I'm gonna just get it off my chest.
Gotcha.
So yeah, but obviously again we're just having some hip hop talk, and we're gonna actually continue with the next topic. But I'm not saying I'm no way saying shit. I'm no way saying that if Kanye put out another album that I wouldn't listen. But I mean, obviously, it makes me look at his character like. And again, like, who am I to even look at someone's character? This is a watch. We're just talking. We're just having conversations. So yeah, pull up. Oof. Man, we're getting to that time. It's not super late, but let's just get through it. The Drake.
This is like Yachty.
Oops. Might want to turn that volume down. You gotta pull up some of those other things. Oh my gosh.
Are we gonna read that whole comment?
I'm gonna read it, unfortunately. I would love for someone else to be not a spelling bee champion, but to raise their hand in class. But oh my god, some of these are paragraphs. My son said wasn't there like other stuff too? Like Birdman said something too. Anyway, you pull it up and I'll start talking. So I would usually say if you don't know, now you know, but everyone knows that Drake recently put out an album for my dogs. I want to say this is a lot inspired by his son, which is pretty dope. Yeah, this is something that he's been working on for a minute. It's kind of, he is postponed it because of the tour he's been doing. It's, a result of something in the mood that he's in. Every Drake album has a certain vibe to it. But all this is just like complex headline, chit chat. The fact of the matter is, something that I realized, especially this time around, all the Drake album rollouts are highly similar. Like, it's just a lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. somebody goes on a rant about how Drake isn't like he used to be, and then Drake picks on one particular individual and like hones in, and that becomes a whole story because now he's like trying to combat the narrative that he's not how great as he used to be. And it's the same every time. Really, it is. And the only reason why we're talking about this is because there is a level of interesting conversation that could be had in here, and about how, like, again, there's a lot of similarities to whenever Drake drops an album, and like, what do we think about like artists pushing back on criticism about their art? Does it like make them look bad or worse, or is it like, does it make sense that an artist should like defend their art? But yeah, let's hear some of the criticisms that some people are saying. Obviously, one of the biggest blow-ups was what Joe Budden had to say about people sold to Joe Budden, and then Drake's comments afterwards. But let's hear what Joe had to say first of all.
This is like Yachty rapping. This is like he rapping for the children. And that's my dog. I had to look up how old this was when I finished listening to the album. You are 36. Your birthday is in 20 days. I Googled that too. You will be 37 years old. Get the away from some of these younger niggas and stop these 25-year-olds. I'm listening to the album. You're a 37-year-old billionaire. I get it that you appeal to the world. Loving about Cole, like my shit is happening in reverse. Like with Cole, he used to rap about kid shit. I'm a grown ass, like real Jersey City. I want to hear how you lost your fucking virginity. And then he started to grow up. And then the rapping sounded like an adult rapping. I want to hear adult Drake rapping for adult people.
No.
Salute to Joe Budden and the Joe Budden podcast. If you want to hear real hip hop breakdowns, go that way. So, I guess if you were to kind of boil down what he's saying, the criticism would be Drake is still rapping to appease or to appeal, I should say, to younger generations, even though Drake is obviously a grown ass man, and it's reflective of that in the quality of the sound of the music, I should say. That's what Joe basically said. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, or you guys got something else from that. So, I don't know. I would say in Drake fashion, but this doesn't really seem like something Drake should be doing. But he responded to Joe Budden. I gotta hold my vocal cords.
I'll read this.
Thank you.
Just wait.
All right. So this is at Champagne Poppy.
That's Drake.
At Joe Budden. You have failed at music. You left it behind to do what you're doing in this clip, because this is what actually pays your bills. For any artist watching this, just remember you are watching a failure give their opinion on his idea of a recipe for success. A quitter give their opinion on how to achieve longevity. You switched careers because the things that pop into your brain had you broke, living check to check, and the raps you write had 450 men showing up to your shows in dusty, how do you say that? Anise jeans, to screw up their face to Mute Music 29 and pretend you are the GOAT. Please, to any artist that's doing what they feel is right, don't let these opinions affect your mindset after the fact. This guy is the poster child of frustration and surrendering. You retired and we never hung up your jersey. We don't even remember your number. We know you for doing this. You withdrew from rap, not because you accomplished all you need to. It's because you wasn't working for you.
It wasn't working.
Oh, it wasn't working for you. I never want anybody in the generation to think that everybody's entitled to their opinion is a real thing. This is a man projecting his own self-hate and the fact that I did and continue to do everything he wanted to do for himself. If you need it to put in simple terms, I own a 767.
Which is a plane.
He owns a modest house in the 973.
It's an
Oh,
area
it's the
code.
zip code, area code, and flies first class on special occasions.
I think we should get more of your reading just to get a taste of it. Anyway, so yeah, I guess I don't even. There's a lot in that, and I don't really feel like reiterating the sentiments, but because Gasa did such a great job. But yeah, this was Drake's clapback at Joe Budden's comments on the album. He basically called him a failure at music specifically, and noted how he basically retired / quit because he wasn't good enough to continue his music career. Whew, holy moly. I mean, let's pick apart this one by one. Ghosts, what do you think of an artist defending their music with such a I don't even know what you call this. We'll just keep it simple. Defending their music while slandering the respective person. Do you think it's typically justifiable, makes sense? Do you think they should just shut up and make music? Do you think what do you think about defending their music in general? And you can comment on this book scripture itself as well, if you want.
I mean, Drake hate and dislike aside, not that I necessarily hate Drake, but this is only honestly objectively a pretty funny comment overall. But what makes it extra funny is that you can tell that Drake's super in his feelings about this. So I mean,
yes, he had a song with the same name. Got me in my
definitely
feelings.
had a nerve. That he did. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Drake responding to this. Like the criticism from Joe Budden, like it's not really. It was kind of about Drake in general, but the end goal was to criticize his music. So I don't have a problem with Joe Budden said. I don't have a problem with, but I just think that going on this whole long rant talking about how you're not this, you're not that, I'm the best, and I'm like it's a little much. Like, relax, bro. I was like Drake. He is the artist in the world. It's not like he came from nothing to do this. So I don't know. I don't really have a problem with either side, but Drake went a little bit overboard. You can tell again that he's definitely in his feelings, like 100%. But I don't know. It kind of just reaffirms Joe Budden's stance because this is childish in general response, and he is, what do you say, 36?
About to be
The
37.
grown men beefing in Instagram comments, but it is what it is. I mean, Drake's obviously having fun doing what he's doing, so.
Do you think are you saying he's in his feelings because he responded at all, or because of this particular response?
For one, because of the response at all. Because if you look at when Drake's been dissed, quote unquote, multiple times over the years, some of them he's responded to, like Meek Mill, but it feels like he punches down. Like when there's a fight he knows he can win, or argument when he'll go on rants like this or draw diss tracks. But then when Pusha annihilated him, Kendrick didn't straight up diss him, but Kendrick's had a few subtle shots over the years, and Drake hasn't really responded. So it feels like when it's a perfect occasion for him to respond, where it's a clear thing you can punch down, a low hanging fruit, then he'll respond. And then again, this, like, if something doesn't, like, this is a whole long response. Like, this took some time to think up and write up, like, especially if you didn't use ghostwriters. So it's you can tell that feelings about it. Like, if you came across it and felt some type of way but wasn't really pressed about it, he would probably have, I don't know, a few seconds, or I'm sorry, a few sentences. But this is low-key a little book report. So yeah, that's why I say you can tell that he's in his feelings. Plus some of his comments just like it's a little.
And I don't want to argue just for the sake of arguing. I think Drake did enough talking. But just for the sake, you saying it's like blatantly wrong for him to be in his feelings?
Not really. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's funny that again, if Joe Budden really is such a failure, it doesn't matter, then you wouldn't be responding like this. But I don't think there's anything wrong with him responding. So when it's talking about you, you have every right to talk back to him.
But would you say it makes Drake look bad to do this type of response, or an artist to look bad to do this type of response?
Well, with the way that Drake has established himself and what he's known for, I don't think this moves the needle either which way. If this is Kendrick or someone that was more
I mean,
respected,
it could even be your personal. It could be even your personal interpretation. Like, would you
yeah, my
respect? Were you
interpretation.
respect any artist for doing this type of response to somebody about their album or music?
I mean, it would vary depending on different artists. If most of the artists I listen to responded like this, it will probably I'll probably respect them a little less. This I feel exactly the same before I did about Drake as I do now. This didn't change anything about the way I view him. Again, not that I know him, but it doesn't really move it.
Gotcha. And what about you, Ace? What do you think of an artist defending their art in a response like this? I mean, you have to read it, so I'm interested to know.
Overall, I'm kind of fine with it. Um, Drake basically is explaining his intentions here. He really doesn't seem to care what people think about. Well, I shouldn't say he doesn't care what the music, but his goal is to make money. So he's going to do what is going to make him the most money. Right now, he feels like that's making the music he's making, and um, and his wealth shows that so far he's been making the decisions. So, like from that standpoint, he is right about how the decisions that he made were the correct ones to get where he wants to go. And I mean that is speaking to Joe Budden's points. Like I'm I'm in agreement with him in that I would like to hear Drake making um music that is catered to his group. But that's not going to make him the money. Like I mean, it's unlikely. It's doubtful that it's gonna um allow him to be as successful monetarily as he currently is. Um,
So you're saying basically it's like it's justifiable from like a wealth and success standpoint, but obviously it makes sense that a person would want to make him him to make age appropriate music.
yeah, yeah. It's like the people who were fans of him when he started out. He's basically alienated because he never he never grew up with his or I should say his music didn't really grow up with his fans, or at least at this point it's kind of just it's at that same point, even if not a little less mature or uh much less mature than when he started out. um but so yeah, like he's alienated those fans, and I mean it makes sense that they would want to hear him come back to the stuff that got them into him in the first place. But yeah, I like I see both sides. um Drake, I mean, and like I said, Drake has just explained what his goals are and why he doesn't really he's not going to listen to people telling him to do something that isn't going to help him to achieve his goal. So
Hmm. I guess. Hmm. Actually, that makes sense how you kind of explained it because I was gonna say, I mean, it feels as if Drake is still gonna get criticism from his music, but I guess now, and then maybe that's his intention to kind of put out like a once and for all like broad perspective on what he thinks of when people, especially people that he deemed to feel that music criticize him. He's like, you're a quitter, telling me that's trying to keep going in this direction, what I should do.
mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll maybe, I mean, it's gonna happen, but maybe a world in which like the next rollout, nobody will feel inclined to speak on it because he's already, like you said, solidified why he's doing this. Which you could say there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, an artist wanting to continue to level up their career from a financial and wealth standpoint, uh, at a certain point, that's what an artist is going to want us to do. So that makes sense. Um, yeah, man. And kind of to go into where it goes from there, yeah, I think it was a surprise to a lot of people that Drake took his time out to pen this letter. But again, I always think, well, man, not always, but recently I thought to think about a lot about like what maybe certain people think and how they think, like people that are like on a just a whole nother aspect of like the one like the 0.1% of people that who reach certain levels of status, fame, and wealth. Like I think their mindsets are just a bit tweaked and a bit different from what makes sense to the vast majority of people that are obviously and on the other side of the percentage. Um, so yeah, I don't necessarily fault some people for sometimes for what they say and what they do, even if it looks like baffling to us. But um, yeah, I guess let's. My son had an interesting post on this matter. Let's quickly see what he had to kind of say about it. I think it's good to see different perspectives. Oh, I say that, but then, oof, you want to take a stab at it, Ghost?
All right. So, all right. This whole failed rapper quote unquote narrative is flawed. Who gets to determine someone else's success? Is every NBA player who never won a championship or been an all-star a failed basketball player? Is every singer who never went platinum or never won a Grammy a failed singer? Some of my favorite players and artists never received the recognition I believe they deserved. The fact that some of us is rap to be lyrically better than everyone else, to have other lyricists that we respect us. Did I read that right? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
And the love for the craft put us in the industry amongst the best. Salute to every artist who received mainstream success, but a lot of us failed rapper will rap you niggas into the ground, respectfully.
Did he just call himself a field rapper? he also included with this is his post. Shout outs to Drake, who I think is a phenomenal rapper, but this statement sparked a dialogue and a need to clarify misconceptions. Joe Biden is a asshole sometimes, but he's my guy and he can rap his ass off. And a lot of these commercial rappers can't do anything. Again, what is this us feel? Why would you put yourself in that category?
Who is this guy again?
Well, I guess I should provide some context. Yes, my son. He's a pretty prominent New York
failed rapper, apparently.
I guess according to his very definition, it may be in the failed rapper category, but obviously he never. I think
he's just latching on to the failed rapper he put up in
yes, quotes. He's exactly the quote unquote failed rappers, and obviously you could argue he has never or has yet to see a mainstream success. Obviously, if we're not super familiar with them or any of his records, I guess you could maybe that's under the belt of a failed rapper. But like you said, he's definitely a lyrical brother. He's obviously from the old New York school of New York of rapping, so you can kind of gauge how he raps and what he raps about. And he definitely, like you said, he's definitely he's cool with Joe Budden, so that's why he's kind of giving perspective. I guess I think I have some other posts, but we don't want to dig too deep, especially at this hour of night. I guess what do y'all think on this? But maybe him latching on to the failed connotation maybe looks away. We'll spin it back. What do you think on these comments, Ace?
I still think it's the same. I still think the objective of Drake is the real crux of the matter. He doesn't care what these people say because his goal is not to out rap the greatest lyricists. His goal is to make money. And that's what he's doing. And he's doing it better than I think anybody has done. Any rapper, maybe? Is that like...
Oh, yeah. As far as rap, I was just about to say, if you want some metrics, he's literally just tied with Michael Jackson for most #1 hits of all time.
Right. There you go. So you can't compete with this monetary success. You just can't. So no matter what anybody says about his lyrics, he's doing exactly what he wants to do. And there's no arguing against it.
Yeah, very much so. What about you, Ghost? What do you think of my son's comments? And I guess, do you agree with it at all? Do you think being a failed artist, or I guess athlete, is synonymous with having achieved some quote unquote level of success, whether it's like a championship or a Grammy or like mass amount of money or something like that?
I think his point in general, it makes sense, but like Ace was mentioning, I don't think it concerns Drake, because like if we're talking about just pure skill as he's talking about, then it is true that there's a lot of failed rappers that have made it commercially, have more, well, a lot of them have more skill and actual talent than Drake, but Drake is better at. I don't want to turn this into a Drake diss thing, because that's not the
I mean, if
point.
you want to get that off your heart, do it.
I mean, well, Drake is mastered making music that people listen to and hits.
I thought you were
It
gonna
may
say
not.
mediocre. He mastered making mediocre music. That's
I mean,
that's
I don't know if I classify it as that. Like some of the other
alliteration.
artists, rappers, I'd say are mediocre, but like he makes music that people listen to. I personally don't think it's good music, but people listen to it, which is success in a sense. For a lot of rappers, I think the bar for success is different, and that's kind of why Joe Budden was going, because if you make, like, success should be in the mind of him, at least making good music, making good rap. But if it's just about making money, then Drake is the most successful. But I mean, as far as this dude's points, yeah, I mean he's right, but it's kind of not really relevant for, excuse me, for Drake and his stance. So
Yeah. Um. I guess actually, let's have some fun with this for anyone that listens up to this point. Who would y'all consider a quote unquote or what would y'all consider a failed artist, and who would y'all consider a failed artist?
huh.
Sorry, you goes.
Failed artist or rapper?
I mean, we can keep it general and artist, but if you want to lean into rap, then you can do that.
I mean, it's if we're being real technical, then it would be someone we never heard of. Like some of those dudes at that open mic we went to
Oh
a couple years
Lord,
ago.
I was thinking about that open mic recently. Holy moly!
Yo, but I guess if we're talking failed, like they were hyped up, we were all aware of them, and they just didn't reach their potential, or they could have been something. I think failed potential is probably the way I classify it. Like they had some success, but they could have been way bigger.
Okay, they had success and they
Um,
could have been okay. Yeah, who would you put in that classification?
huh. I don't know. I would say like I don't know if I'd say like Joey Parp or something. I know Malik. I'm sorry. I know Wes is probably slipping. I know Wes knows who he is. Maybe like Vic Mensa or something. It's kind of hard because Vic Mensa is still successful, but he could have been more. There's better answers
Rick
out
Mess
there.
is actually on the upswing. He just put out some music, and it seems to be getting a decent attention, level of attention. I'm gonna say
Yeah, I
y'all are
mean,
wrong in y'all answers. I'm just curious to know what y'all think.
there's probably some better answers out there. That's just it's kind of hard because all the artists that we know are really successful. So
I think by your definition, there probably are quite a few rappers, especially maybe some older artists that the momentum was bigger than what they actually produced.
maybe
But
like
maybe
80, if we're going old school, like AZ or something. Again, I don't want to call him failed, but I mean, that Life's a Bitch feature was pretty much one of the best features of all time. I don't want to. I mean, he's put out a lot of music, good music, but I don't know. I'll have to
Right.
think about it.
Yeah, you can think about it. What about yourself, Ace? What would you consider a failure as an artist, and who, if anybody?
So I have to put myself into it because I think I could qualify as a failed artist.
You've been rapping on the low?
Not rapping, actually like a drawing art. And if I think about it in that way, the only reason I would say that is because I quit. Like I didn't continue with it. I I
So you agree with Drake?
yeah, I think so. Like I hit walls and I didn't keep pushing past them. That is where I consider like as in terms of art failure to occur. If I kept trying, even if I didn't reach um the level of, technical prowess that I was going for, I would still consider myself to be successful as long as I kept trying. So I think quitting is truly the criteria. Um so yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird though, because then I'm basically saying for somebody that makes trash music, as long as they keep doing it and um they're working towards getting better, or maybe even their definition of good is what they're, then they're a success.
I mean, ideally, you'd want to say somebody that meets the criteria of what you in your mind think is a fit rapper. But if it's somebody that's outside that realm, I guess that's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm saying people that quit, like I don't know, I can't think of people that I know that have quit.
I mean, name your famous older artist and let's see if they're still rapping. Or think of your just
I
think of.
I think I got one that I don't know if you know Ace, but you know Jimmy Tent?
Oh, yeah, I actually used to listen to him.
Dog, he was so good, bro.
Yeah, no,
And
he
bro, he
was.
just hasn't dropped music. He's dropped like 2 singles over the past 8 years. It's crazy. So,
Yeah, but see,
but
I mean,
he was amazing as a rapper, but I don't want to say
but
he gave up.
maybe I'm being too loose with my definition. But if he were still making, like, if he were still just rapping and he wasn't necessarily putting the raps out, but he was still an artist, like in terms of making rap or rapping, and even maybe still getting better at his craft, I can't say that he's failed just because he hasn't put the music out.
True, but I mean, if you're getting into rap, like, and your goal is to sell records, but if you put out music, you want to sell records to some extent, for the
Mm-hmm.
most part.
Mm-hmm.
So if you aren't dropping anything, even if he's been refining his craft, and if he drops something tomorrow, it would be the best album of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to give you any credit because you haven't dropped that album.
Yeah, I got you. So you're saying it, in considering a failed artist and rapping, we're also thinking about there having to be a minimal amount of output, because at the end of the
Yeah, I
day,
mean,
it was
we
kind of
need
like a job type thing too.
yeah, we need evidence that you're actually still a rapper. You
Gotcha.
could be working a 9 to 5 for all we know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's probably not a great way to gauge it because they are still working on their craft and they just don't release it because they don't feel comfortable or they don't feel like it's good enough.
Mm.
Again, without the proof, I mean, you really got to wait to.
Well, I
Wait to
mean,
tell.
I like, even in this, I look at this is, I don't know, I'm getting in trouble for this, but I look at Wes, who's made tons of music
Oh
in the
my
past
god.
and
Have
hasn't
you?
put out a single
But
track.
Wes is different because I guess we know that but he needs to put out the damn music.
Right,
Are
right,
we?
right.
I must have dozed off or got stumped for a second. Are you calling Wes the F word?
No, I'm not. I'm saying the opposite. Like I know he's not a failed artist because he's still working.
I just said
He's
the
still
FR word.
making,
Sorry.
yeah, definitely. He's still making music, but he just hasn't released it. So I think my definition is looser because I'm not putting a requirement that the music has to be released. It's truly just if you quit, you're a failed artist. Like once you quit, you're a failed artist.
That makes sense. So who's a favorite rapper again? How you said it seemed like you repeated that.
You said Jimmy. Yeah, but like I said, if I don't know that they've stopped rapping, like
I
if I
mean,
don't
how do
know
you
that
know
they
if
don't
anyone?
have it anymore.
I mean, how do you
That's
know if
why
any,
I don't know. I don't know if I could name a failed artist per se by my definition.
I mean, you can only go based off what you know, right?
No, I'm maybe by my definition, damn near impossible to know unless the person died and they said they quit 10 years ago or something. Then yeah, I can say it, but
I mean,
I can't say it unless
if a person says
unless the person says they quit. Yeah.
if a person says they retire and it's been like 4 or 5 years and they haven't put out anything new, I think it's kind of safe to say that. But either way, you gonna say something real quick, Ghost?
Who is that I don't know, that female rapper that you brought, Quest, that she had like one track out. It was like a single or something.
Talking about Tank?
And it was like, we say it again? I think, yeah.
Was it a rapper or a singer?
It was definitely a rapper. It was like Nicki Minaj-esque. But she was like a self-proclaimed failed artist, right? I'm thinking of the same.
I don't remember anyone.
Oh,
I've never heard anyone say
I've
never heard anyone put themselves in a fail category until my song today.
It was a topic where she said that because of I think it was like the underrated when we talk about the underrated. I don't know if it was her necessarily, but she said that for whatever reason she didn't get the shine that she should have. Again, this could be a different artist, but I don't know. I think that could be a definition of failure too. That even if you are making the music, if you don't get the recognition that you want, then maybe that could be considered failure.
Yeah, it would be a failure by that person's definition.
Yeah, that's definitely an easy way to look at it.
One other thing I want to say, I do look at retirement differently than quitting. Like when I say quitting, for me, it's because I wasn't getting past the challenges that were presented to me when I was trying to get better at drum. So I quit instead of persevering past that. If I had like gotten past those challenges, reached my goals in terms of, I don't know, just being able to draw in a very technically proficient way. And then I, decided I've done what I wanted to do. I'm done drawing. I'm gonna explore other things. Then I don't consider that failure. It's just quitting when you can't quitting because you hit a challenge that you can't get past. Like that definitely that I consider the failure.
Well, the thing is, and maybe this kind of speaks volumes on you for being able to consciously discern that for yourself, but I think when it comes to art, nobody does that. Nobody says I'm quitting because I couldn't achieve the challenge. I don't know what, I can't speak from my perspective, but I don't think they ever, I mean, hitting a wall is one thing, but they'll just either like keep trying it or put that down and go work on something else. So from a genre perspective, it would have been like, hey, I can't necessarily create this visual like scene, or I can't draw this aspect of the human body, or I can't come up with new ideas, but I'm still gonna draw every day. I'm still gonna work on something else. I don't think artists quit in the way you're describing it, like a job. I'm just gonna quit.
No, I did. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. I think you are literally the only person ever to, from an artist perspective, say this is a hurdle I can't achieve and I'm going to quit wholesale?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like if I did it, done it.
No. Again, most artists, and I probably shouldn't be speaking for artists, but I think most artists just try a different aspect of that.
Well,
I mean-
what if? I mean, there's nothing to stop you from picking it back up. What if you picked it back up? Would you?
That too.
So would you
Yeah,
still
and
consider it
the funny thing is, I
a
have.
failure, or would you retroactively not say that it was a failure because you did end up resuming it?
I think I would have to say that you can become an unfailed artist.
All right, now we're getting ridiculous. Obviously, I'm not here to question y'all's interpretation of a failure, but I think that one might need a little thinking about. But in the same vein, when you're talking about looseness of like what we determine to be a failed rapper or criteria, I would say I probably have one of the most loose interpretations, and it kind of goes back to one of our conversations about like when we call certain people legends. I don't know how into it I got during that topic, but I would definitely say like my idea of a quote unquote failed artist. Well, I do like the train of thought of like somebody that had momentum and didn't keep going. For me, like honestly speaking, if somebody made a name for himself, if they did a verse, if they did a song that impacted the culture in a way that even if they're a quote unquote one hit wonder, they'll be remembered, so to speak. I think you legend, but I definitely wouldn't call them a failure. Like the simplest way I put it, since it is kind of an abstract way of thinking, if you become a name throughout your city, and you have like a bunch of people rooting from you from your environment, that's a success in my eyes. It's not going to be a forever thing. You might even get forgotten to like the annals of time. But if you were able to make the impact that one good time, I definitely see a value in that. And that makes it like incredibly hard because like, yeah, all the artists that would fit in the criteria of not being that or not being success, they're just people that we've never heard of, somebody that never was able to completely make it out. So I guess for the sake of sake, I'm probably gonna steal yours. My apologies, Ghost, and say somebody that had momentum, but for whatever reason, to be honest, for me, it's outside of music reasons. Like they had the talent, they just for outside of music made some choices that didn't align with their best way to perform in their career. I would say Corey Gunner, son of Peter Gunn. That was definitely in 2012 or 2011 my favorite artist. They had some of the best verses that I can still listen to these days with the same level of enjoyment. But I don't know if it was particularly bad management or just surrounding yourself with bad individuals. But for whatever reason, they chose to take the street route and get jammed up in the system when they were literally put in the best position to be literally where Drake is right now. So that's the person I consider a failed rapper or failed artist. Salute to Corey Gunn, though. I definitely. But if there's nothing else, I think I had a couple other like links for the Drake stuff. He posted an interesting throwback to people commenting on "Take Care," which a lot of people pretty much established to be one if not his best album. And a lot of people were given a lot of the same criticisms that they're giving for this album. Somebody said, this is in reference to Take Care, keep in mind. Someone said, I think his album was weak, repetitive, boring at times, nothing new, nothing exciting, same old, same old. Somebody said, Thank Me Later, greater than Take Care. Features went harder on maybe classic verses. The rapping was better, no track had skips. Okay, so he kind of, oh no, he's Thank Me Later. That's the spin, Thank Me Later. And then he said, Take Care had a few I don't really like, good album, but not great. So yeah, all throughout Drake's career, he's gotten, similar critique, and obviously some of these are like seen as like classics now. So I think this is probably if he had did this with another response, I think this would have spoke way more volumes than paragraphs to Joe Budden could have ever done. Dropping a diss track to a guy that doesn't rap anymore is not the move. Don't listen to Ace. But I think that's it for topics. Ooh, got through it. What was I gonna say? What do we do else talk? Oh yeah. Um, before we conclude the podcast, now that we've gone through all the topics, does anyone have anything to get off their heart, anything to get off their chests before we wrap it up?
I'm good. Oh yeah.
Nothing for me.
I do have one thing. What was I gonna say? Oh my gosh. So I was kind of made a bit of joke at it, but obviously, or a quick jab at it, but obviously, there's a lot going on in the world right now. Literal foreign affairs that are way above my pay grade of understanding. But one thing I did want to note is I know a lot of things are going on across the world, but one place that deserves some attention, but clearly not getting it, is Haiti. Salute to all my Haitian brothers and sisters out there. Man, the state of affairs in Haiti is uh, atrocious, awful, grim, saddening, disgusting, all around tragic. And I don't say, huh?
What's going on in Haiti?
Yeah,
Jesus.
I was kind of gonna just say that and let people do their own.
Yeah, I'll have to look.
But obviously I know some people don't, like myself, read all the time. So to give you the super, to give you to paint a picture, the negative things that you hear going on in cities like Chicago, sometimes DC, Atlanta, that's going on in Haiti times 200%. Like, again, to give you some more, because sometimes these pictures speak louder than just the overall general what's going on. Gang members literally just took control of a school and captured a bunch of children. Just captured a bunch of children, held hostage. That's day-to-day affairs. People are in constant fear of their lives. If you recall, it was about several years ago when they literally assassinated the president of Haiti, and it's really some heartbreaking stuff. No, so I don't say any of these things. That we're not here to provide any actionable things that can be done. It's just when you look at the grand scheme of everything that's going on in the world, it would be nice if they do some of that hundreds of millions of dollars of aid to Haiti. I don't know. I don't know if it's not profitable or there's no solutions that they can do, but that's a place that desperately needs some help. So again, salute to all my Haitian brothers and sisters. Salute to all our Haitian brothers and sisters out there. Whew, had to get to that with my heart. But on more positive, forward thinking, like as we like to do at the end of all our podcasts, what, if anything, are we looking forward to in the near future, in the far future? You know what they say about having something to look forward to.
Yeah, I got one. This is mostly just to piss Quest off. I recently started drawing again.
Why would this piss me off? It'd be dope. I mean, again, you're that just means your metric needs a little work of failure, but I mean, it's whatever.
But yeah, no, I am serious. I did start drawing again.
Dope, so sorry, my mind's all content minded, so I'm thinking about like how you could use that to increase influence. But again, don't ever feel nervous about posting stuff on the gram or whatever, or like getting artist circles. Maybe you should maybe you should try to start moving to digital art, even though we've behind the scenes been working on some stuff that makes that kind of pointless. But got you. What about you guys?
NFL season, which I mentioned, not NFL, NBA season, which I mentioned
season,
last
yeah.
time. Couple concerts that I'm hoping to be able to go to. There's a book coming out that I wanted to read. Can't remember what it was. Yeah, nothing too exciting, but
hey man, it's not about the excitement of it. It's about having something to look forward to. Likewise for myself, I don't think I have anything mind-boggling. Obviously, as it gets later in the year, for better or for worse, to have some additional days off that you can use to take time with your homeboys and your families. I don't know why I put homeboys first. That seems kind of moonlight. Um, but anyway, yeah, I look forward to some of those breaks and using those to to make content. Again, there's something we gotta do after this podcast. We guys aren't too tired. But yeah, content related. Also, I just started a new job recently, and I look forward to getting to a better schedule because I don't know if it's that's 1-to-1, but I've had some trash sleep recently. I did feel as if I'm working twice as hard, if you can believe it. If you could, obviously, like it's obvious. So I don't know if that's 1-to-1 messing my sleep, but yeah, I've been kind of jacked up in that regard. So I'm hoping to get kind of into a better schedule and just get my life into a super succinct routine like I had before. So that's it for me. And that's it for us. As always, thank you guys for coming on and doing this podcast thing. Dang, 3 hours if you can believe it. I'll try to be more conscious and not pack so much topics into one joint, so we can try to get more down to an hour and a half. But we are used to being able to doing like 4 or 5 hours of podcasting, so it's not anything super new to us. But anyway, we also give 100% thank yous to any and all listeners, any and all supporters. We greatly appreciate you all. And we hope by listening to this podcast that you gain new perspective or you learn some, pardon me, you gain new perspective or you learn something new, like Toys R Us may be opening near you soon. Be sure to take your little younger brothers or nieces or nephews. Or we just hope that you found us entertaining. But if none of that happened for you, then all we can say is be warmed and be filled. Thank you. All right. Stop the recording. And then, yeah, signing off. Obviously, like I said before, the music playlist will be in the description below shortly. And by shortly, I mean by end of the week. Always will. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Who knows with us? All right.